I love when Twitch tells me I'm live and unstable. What's up, chat? How's it going? How are we all doing today? Happy New Year's! I haven't seen y'all since New Year started, so obviously. Yeah, oh man, this shirt is so old. Yeah, the year changed. Doesn't make much of a difference to me. But one of my buddies came over, and since we rarely exchange gifts, he got me this. I'm gonna put that to the camera. So, New Year, same beard. Well, it's a newer beard. It's a newer beard. Yeah, nice. This shit is devilishly smooth for a Blanco. I've had reposados that are harsher. You're gonna do your annual what? What's an SHVE? Thanks for the glizzy, Saru. I see D-Dog followed me. Oh, Shave, yeah. D-Dog followed me the other day. Thank you for the follow, D-Dog. That probably happened during ZV stream. Bro, I made... Predictably, I knew this was going to happen when I was invited. So, not shade. But I made such an ass out of myself during ZV's karaoke stream. It was great. It was great. I drank a lot. Which, that actually has a... God. So, yeah, I just showed you the liquor my friend bought me. My father-in-law brought me more drinks. Waifu bought me more drinks. One of my other friends bought me, like, a 12-pack of some nice stuff. Like, I have so much alcohol to get through. One at a time, though. Because I don't care what anybody says. Like, I have been told this is, like, straight up wrong. But I'm being gaslit. And maybe it's because these people, like, keep bottles for years, thinking that they buy one nice bottle of, liquor, and then it just stays the same as they slowly drink it. And I'm like, nah, dude, the second you uncork that, the character starts to change. It was smoother last night, which is why I'm drinking it with ice. I was drinking it neat yesterday. Or not yesterday, day before. And I could do that now, but to be honest, watering it down just that tad is probably a better strategy for stream. Let's be real, guys. For those of you who were there during the karaoke, you know how good of an idea that is. But, damn, this stuff is good. That's the vibe. That's the vibe right there. Anyway, I said it before, I'll say it again. Happy New Year, everybody. I thanked Saru for the glizzy twice. I'm trying to do better at the streaming thing. And that's not a New Year's resolution. I just want more presence with chat. I've just bit by bit slowly working on it. I actually did some work on my stream today. I've been meaning to replace the title screen and all sorts of stuff for a while, and you know, just gotta eat that elephant a little bit at a time. On that note, It's not something I mention a whole lot because, most of chat is my buddies and they already know this. But all the photos you see on my stream are photos I have taken. I don't just grab random seagull photos from the internet and then just post them on my stream. Those are my photos. So, oh yeah. By the way, before I get too blasted, I'm not getting blasted tonight, but before I get too blasted, damn, waifu's a good woman. That's all I'm gonna say. And she'll never see that because she doesn't make streams because she's so busy. Love you, waifu. Let's see. Contacting the American Seagull Association to check for copyright? Yeah, you do that, because if they're claiming copyright, I've got some bones to pick with them. I will go after them. Let's see. Hey, Inak, what's up? What's going on tonight? And I'm kind of reluctant to set hard goals for the New Year's on New Year's, because unless you have a history, unless you have a strong history trying to keep your resolution and suffering, I was just about to mention that. Unless you have a strong history of keeping your New Year's resolutions, I think making a goal on New Year's is a surefire way to not achieve it. Like, if you're going to lose weight, decide that before New Year's. I think that goes with, like, any goal, really. Like, you need to set those goals when you notice that things aren't going the correct way. Oh, man, that stuff is so good. Oh, yeah, before I got derailed. So I'm trying to drink that all before the character changes. People, like, you can taste it the next day after you uncork one. And I won't let anybody tell me different. Generally, my strategy, like, nobody wanted to help me as much as drink that as much as they should have. Or as much as I wanted them to. I'm sorry, as much as I wanted them to. So I should just... No, you shouldn't give up, but I think it's, like, something you really gotta watch out for. Because if you typically don't achieve your New Year's goals, what you're doing by setting one that way is you're establishing it as part of the pattern of things that you don't do. Does that make sense? It's like when somebody just clearly doesn't want to do something, and then it's not exactly the same, but like when somebody wants to do something and then you call them out on not doing it, and then they go, well, at least I tried. You're just setting yourself up for, I don't have to do it. I just have to say that I tried. And eventually that becomes barely trying at all, and then claiming that you tried, and then just not trying, and then claiming that you tried. Like, that's a very easy pattern to get into when you start failing goals, and then you keep setting them, and then, like, ritualistically. So you gotta watch out for that. I typically need some sort of very motivated accountability buddy to do practically anything. And that's a shortcoming of mine that I need to get over. But I doubt, you know what they say about leopards and spots. On that note, I noticed almost every person I know, both like online and offline, was having a real tough time about the 28th, 29th, basically this week. Uh, let's see. I'm not going to name names. You guys have probably seen a few of them. But I was also having trouble, so I thought that was neat. Holidays can be very exhausting, especially when bad stuff happens. Nothing bad happened to me, but I'm exhausted. There was stuff I wanted to do over my break, and there are some commitments that I made to the kids, and I'm not sure I'll be able to live up to those commitments, because I got too excited and thought I could do too much, and I got a lot of it done. I got a lot of it done. But man, I am just spent. Why am I drinking out of both of these? I need a lot of... I noticed that I drink a lot on stream. It's like my... It keeps my hands busy. And it fills the dead air. So I'm just going to grab my frog. That's another habit I need to kick. My streams are like the watching RM take drink stream. It's like, that needs to change. But yeah, like, if you want to make a New Year's resolution, go for it. Just ask yourself, do I ever actually succeed at these? And am I going to leave that door for myself when I don't do this one? That, well, I tried. Are you going to have that excuse? Because that's a very common habit. We got numbers on it. God, if my sister were here, she could give you the numbers. That's like a thing she does. Another thing is I'm getting warm. These lights are not cool. In fact, on that note, I switched them out. I don't like this lighting as much. The CRI is obviously not as good as the other light, but the wattage is like half. So, I don't know. That's a lot less heat being put into the room. What's the temperature outside? What is the temperature outside? You know, it would have been faster to look at my phone. Hold on, sorry, I'll read that in just a second. In other words, if you don't ever want to fail, never try anything. It's 63 out. I'm not sure if that's open window worthy. I'm not sure if that'll help anything. Hey, Noodle, what's up? Oh, you're right. I should... I need an FIH command. I need to download the fishing game. Somebody needs to, like, really, really harangue me on that. Allow. Naughty sex words. Naughty sex words, Noodle. If you look outside, you can see the weather, you know. I can't. Oh, well, it didn't catch that one. Why didn't it catch that one? That's an interesting choice there, Twitch. That's an interesting choice. Let's see. So yeah, I noticed I'm allowing that one too. Oh, we're gonna trip all the filters today, aren't we? But yeah, I agree, Ianak. I agree. That's basically what I was talking about. Like, some of the stuff I've been filtered for, and then that word gets through. Man. And I'm not really avoiding them. Well, I am avoiding them, but it's not because I don't want to say them. It's because if I say the things that are getting filtered, even though I'm allowing them on my stream, John Twitch is going to put an age restriction on this stream when his bots get through categorizing it. Oh yeah, what was that one skit? You know the one. the juice flavor skit with the very aggressive ad campaign. I gotta dance around that one too. Okay, so before we get into the security stuff today, I'm gonna do a little FF7 ranting. RM restricted to age boomer. Yeah, exactly. That actually goes in with the rant. So I started an FF7 playthrough, and I think my Steam activity is public in Discord, so you've all probably seen how many hours I've been spending in that lately. And that's like, if you see me gaming like a lot like that, it's because I've got the worms. Like, burying myself in games to that degree is not something... That's not something that I do when I'm feeling well or energetic. But also, I was like, wow, playing Final Fantasy VI on stream was really, really fun, and I want to save making progression in that playthrough for stream. So in order to, like, not get into the thing where I've got 2 saves, one for off-stream and one for on-stream, I'll just start a completely different Final Fantasy game. And so I was like, you know, I haven't tried FF7 in like 12, 13 years, and the last time I tried it, I was still feeling not too warm on it because of secondaries, and we've had that conversation before, but we're going to have it again tonight. So I started an FF7 playthrough, and just before stream, I finally got, and I say just before, it was like 1 o'clock, so like 5 hours ago. So like 5 hours ago, I got to the point of the game that I actually like taking my time and slowing down and grinding in, which is when you can start, yeah, FF7 is the gay one, that's right, Noodle. That's actually a little less ironic than I intended it because of stuff I'm going to bring up in a minute. But we're at the point where I can start breeding chocobos, and I love breeding mechanics in basically any game that they're in. So that's where I'm going to slow down and take my time and do stuff the way I want to. It doesn't matter whether like it's Pokemon or Final Fantasy or Animal Crossing. I love breeding mechanics. For those of you who don't know, flowers in Animal Crossing have ternary values. So that's fun math to do. If you're actually going to do the math. You can like, obviously you can follow a guide step by step and not know why it works. Or you can totally nerd out and learn ternary. Guess what I did? Actually, I knew ternary before I knew that the flower system worked in ternary. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's a base 3. So like binary is base 2, ternary is base 3. Best breeding mechs was in Fire Emblem Awakening. I've never played a Fire Emblem game, so I don't know how much of a joke that is, and I would like to be brought in on this joke. Like, were there breeding mechanics? Like, aside from like being a euphemism for romance. Oh, wow, okay. Maybe I need to play Fire Emblem Awakening. You can pair and have... Oh, nice. That might be my first Fire Emblem game, then. Do other entries in the series have, like, actual breeding mechanics, or is it just that one? I'm starting to see why so many streamers are Fire Emblem fans now, because anytime I see streamers, particularly VTubers, talking about Fire Emblem, it's always about Awakening. Oh, so Fates did too? I'm just squishing my frog. So Fates also had breeding mechanics, but like, anytime I see VTubers, or really streamers in general talking about Fire Emblem, it's generally about Awakening. And I don't know if that's because it's a recent title, or if it's because it's the one with the breeding mechanics, but that's an interesting little coincidence. Today I learned. Thanks, chat. I like when chat teaches me things. Anyway, So I mentioned that the reason I hadn't given FF7 another chance in over a decade was because like secondaries ruined the experience for me, and one of those secondaries was my sister, not the one you guys know, but the other sister. And it's because she first of all, a secondary is somebody who enjoys content for reasons other than its primary consumption. So my other sister, the ones you guys don't know, she never played Final Fantasy VII, to my knowledge. Maybe after I moved out, she did, but while I was there, she hadn't. But she loved Sephiroth, and you know why she loved Sephiroth? Because she played Kingdom Hearts. And I need to set the scene for you guys. For those of you who might be a bit younger, when Final Fantasy VII broke containment, well, let's talk about when it was in containment, which wasn't long. That was a very, very popular game. Sold tons of copies. Even with people who had like Super Nintendos and technically had access to Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation was their first Final Fantasy because that's when you were between primary and secondary. Yeah. That was like the first time they had really even heard. Early 90s it was in containment. Well, Final Fantasy VII didn't exist in the early 90s, but like Final Fantasy itself, I agree. Yeah, exactly. PlayStation, yeah. Okay, I know what you're saying. We're on the same page. Final Fantasy VII came out in like 1997, 98 in the States. And before that, like, Final Fantasy games were part of gaming nerd culture, which was small and something you would... I gotta look that up, Saru. Because I thought Final Fantasy VII was supposed to be not on the SNES. It was supposed to be on the next system that Nintendo was collaborating with Sony to produce. And then Nintendo shafted Sony, and Sony's like, fuck you, we're going to release a game console without your help. And that is what the PlayStation was. In either case, it broke containment in 97, 98. Prior to that, and even... yeah, it was announced. But that's actually a really minor detail. The point is, Final Fantasy VII, when it released on the PlayStation, broke Squaresoft into, like, mainstream consciousness. Yeah, and then Sony and Nintendo had a pissing match, which was way more epic than the Sega and Nintendo pissing match. Sega does what Nintendo don't is a phrase that only people who were alive at the time or watch very esoteric YouTubers, that's a phrase only those people know. And I guess anybody watching this stream now. But the point is, Sephiroth broke containment, Cloud broke containment. If you ask these people who Red 13 is, they look at you and they go, duh. And if you ask them who Nanaki is, even more of them go, duh, because they don't actually play the game. What a lot of them did do was play Kingdom Hearts. Many not even that. And when I tell you that was the perfect storm, this is where I'm trying to put you. Remember, in the late 90s, boy bands were the hottest thing. Boy bands were it. We were almost Korean levels of into boy bands. That's a bit of a hyperbole, but, like, I'm trying to paint this picture for y'all. Like, for a very, very brief moment, we had idol culture, and it was Orlando boy bands. And the reason that is important was that guy from NSYNC. I think it was from NSYNC. The reason that's important... yeah, he was from NSYNC. I got it right. The reason that's important is because they decided that in Kingdom Hearts 1, Sephiroth, despite only being a secret boss, would be voice acted. And the person they chose for the voice acting for Sephiroth was Lance Bass, the pretty boy head guy of NSYNC. So my older, he's not older, my oldest younger sister gets into Kingdom Hearts, gets really into Kingdom Hearts, finds this boss battle, and when Sephiroth opens the Bishonen was also a big thing in anime at the time. So this Bishonen guy, this hot Bishonen guy, he opens his mouth and it's Lance Bass's voice coming out. Obsessed with Sephiroth from that day forward. She still is obsessed with Sephiroth. That is like her top. That is still like one of her top 3 Bishonen dudes. Is Sephiroth. Saru says, I'd say about 50% of the players of Final Fantasy VII in the first year had never played any prior FF. Easily. I'm not sure if there's a modern entry into Final Fantasy that I could say the same thing about. Maybe 14? Maybe. I'm still not sure on that one. I think Final Fantasy VII probably caught more. It was. I love that you're a suspicious user. Final Fantasy probably as a population, like as a percentage of the gaming population, probably definitely caught more. But it might have caught more in raw numbers of people who hadn't played Final Fantasy ever. Like, even in raw numbers, I think they're close, and I think Final Fantasy VII still edges out 14. So I'd be willing to see numbers to the contrary. I think unless you're very invested in Final Fantasy as a series, I think that's why so many people hit the Great Filter in ARR. Because I think the more into the series you are, the more willing you are to get past the Great Filter. And I think people who just, like, aren't really invested in that theme park before playing it, I think those are the people who get filtered the hardest by AR. Whichever one is in the desert. If it's purely in the desert, that's going to be 12 because I've not played 12, but I know that every Final Fantasy prior to that had many different biomes. Like, that was kind of Final Fantasy's thing. You were going to be in a forest, and that's where the dangerous monsters always were in the forest. You were going to have an ice biome, you were going to have a desert biome, you were going to have a city hellscape. Like, those were tile sets you were always going to have in a Final Fantasy. And on some of them, you would have the moon. Combat was real time, that's definitely 12. Yeah. A lot of early 14 players were like, me and came from WoW as Burnout had approached. I have seen enough Yahoo answers that sentence structure didn't bother me. They left when the original was unplayable. That's what I hear. The original was really bad. I mean, of course the original was really bad. They literally blew it up. They exploded it. And Ratchet of the Lich King was a good expansion, from what I'm told. So not only was FF14 bad, but Wrath was good. So... But yeah, my sister being a giant secondary for Sephiroth, like, ruined the game for me. Because she wasn't the only one. Like, you basically couldn't go to a forum with some secondary talking about how much they loved Final Fantasy VII, and if you talked to them at all, it would come out that actually it's not Final Fantasy VII they liked, it's Cloud, because they saw him on a poster somewhere, or Sephiroth, because he was in Kingdom Hearts. And because Lance Bass voiced him. Going to the first inn gave me 5 frames. Jesus! What a shit show. But yeah, so a lot of people joke about the I don't like you being in my hobby because you like it for the wrong reasons, but that's actually true. Like, there was, like, you have to understand, as fans, me and my sister had nothing in common. We're less than 2 years apart, by the way. We're less than 2 years apart. And when you do the math on gestation, that's... Woo! But, even though we were that close together, we had nothing in common about why we liked Final Fantasy VII. Like, I enjoyed Chocobo breeding and the materia system, and she liked her Bishonen pretty boy bad guy. And that's all she liked. We ended up getting like Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, which I don't want to hear complaints about that. That was like 90 minutes of pure, unadulterated fan service, and I loved every second of it. And when I tell you that she was bored with the whole thing until Sephiroth showed up, oh man. Anyway, that stuck with me a while. But I can finally enjoy Final Fantasy VII again. And it's good to gatekeep secondaries. And I don't think it's a good idea for somebody who's never played Final Fantasy VII to play the original. I can't recommend it. It has pacing problems in places. There are graphical sacrifices that people when it came out, people my age were okay with, that I don't see people being okay with anymore. Because people who weren't there like to imagine that we thought the people with the blocky arms on the overworld looked good. No one ever thought that looked good. No one ever thought that was good looking. They exchanged that for having the models in the battle screen look a lot better, and at the time, those did look good. And you spend most of your time in the battle screen, so that was fine. And then the cutscenes were also revolutionary at the time. Blizzard basically wouldn't do better. How did that get blocked? My sister always calls that cataclysm, so I will as well. So while cataclysm sucked ass in 2010, yeah. No, it did it again! How did it... So sucked ass and ass sucking are separate filters. I just had to approve Saru's stuff twice. Oh no, you're committing a swear. I've told it to ignore that. Like, I've got my filters on the lowest. And it's like, oh no, all the swearing. Thanks, John Twitch. So when I tell you guys I need to be careful about what I say on stream, that's why. That's why. Because after stream, and even during stream, John Twitch's AI robots are analyzing my speech to see... to see if I'm saying things that warrant an age restriction. Which is why disturbingly little of chat is being repeated today. But yeah, there's people with very strong opinions on Final Fantasy VII who weren't around when it came out. Y'all are just trying to see how much y'all can allow me. Yeah, Wani got the adult tag in the middle of streams. Yeah, another one. Mute Serial tomorrow, notepad. Yeah. And it's fine for a youngster to hate. It's too popular, grrr. It's saying that INAC is bullying for saying the P word. Hey, Stoic, what's up? I remember you. I think the first time I saw you was in a Nero stream. Welcome in, dude. I swear eventually we'll get to the cybersecurity. We're only 35 minutes in. So you're glad you played FF7 week 1 because it was popular almost immediately. I know what you mean. It got even worse. I think Final Fantasy VII was unironically more popular 10 years after it released than the year that it did release, which is that's unheard of. But there were so many secondaries for the reasons I was talking about. All the cameos and making sure boy band singers were voicing Sephiroth, and man, Bishonen was popular, like I mentioned. So like having Cloud and Sephiroth running around being doomed yaoi Bishonen characters, that was the accidental best play of all time when it came to marketing. But the game just doesn't hold up. The cutscenes were great when they came out. The models for the battles were great when they came out. But like any old 3D, like old pixel art holds up. I think the remaster of FF6 is much lower visual quality than the original so far, and I'm only like an hour in. Omni's like, it's always about the doomed yaoi, isn't it? Yeah, it was amazing for the mid-90s. It was better than what Blizzard was putting out. If you can imagine that, it was better than the cutscenes Blizzard was putting out at the time. And I think one of the reasons Blizzard got as good as they did at cutscenes was because they saw how well it worked with Final Fantasy VII. I think that's one of the reasons they really leaned into that. There were other reasons they leaned into that. It wasn't just FF7. Their direct competitor, yeah. Their direct competitor, Command and Conquer, they were doing like cheeseball camp, but they did have live footage and like some CG FMVs like between missions and as an intro and for outros. Like they had stuff. So like between both of those games, Blizzard was like, we are going to do this really, really, really well. And we are going to be known for doing this really, really well. I think both of those games were influential on Blizzard staff. That is pure speculation on my part. That's pure speculation. Are you trying to say that Lara Croft in 3D for the first time doesn't hold up? Not unless you're getting it done with pure nostalgia, no. No. I know that wasn't serious. Another one. Stoic, they're testing my auto mod today, which I have set to very low levels, but they're getting caught for the most innocuous words. I need to check my dashboard after stream and see if those settings haven't changed to something a bit more strict. Because holy hell. Every word is getting caught today. But no, like my older sister, really? MILF is misogyny now? I'm not even going to get started on that. The reason it said it was filtered was misogyny, by the way. That was the tag for the filter. Saying how much you love mothers. DILF is bullying, though. So MILF is misogyny, but DILF is bullying. Bazongas is fine, apparently. Holy crap. Bro. The double standard in real time. But I think that's genuinely a reason why Blizzard focused so much. How is saying a mother is attractive misogyny? That's a great question, Omni. I think I've been experienced enough with that rhetoric to actually hazard a decent guess. And I think that comes from the Anita Sarkeesian line of thinking, which is basically saying that anything is attractive is objectification and therefore misogyny. I think you would have to go full Anita Sarkeesian to make that connection. Always study the people you disagree with. Because there's a lot of groups that clearly don't do that, and you can tell. Because they cannot accurately articulate the motivations and therefore cannot accurately predict the behavior of their opponents. If you see somebody who's constantly wrong about what their opponents are doing and why, it's because they don't study their opponents on a cursory level. Inek didn't even know who that was and got that perfectly correct. Wow, there are some people young enough not to know about Anita. That's neat. That's neat. Anita is the definition of an entryist. That's who Anita is. That's all you need to know about Anita, is she's an entryist. I could even make that part of a social engineering stream. Inek gets flagged for bullying so much, even when it's about him. Like, the bot can't pick up that he's talking about himself. The original femcel? True! Absolutely true. Absolutely true. She is the original femcel. I don't even think she's a femcel. I think she ended up with somebody, but, like... She definitely wasn't a gamer. It thinks LM is another chatter. It thinks I'm is another chatter. Okay, yeah. Hey, Plaus! You should look at the... Actually, I'm not sure it keeps records of that. I have had to approve so many normal words. Oh, yeah, she did have a man write all of her scripts. I forgot about that. Like, she is... no apostrophe. Thanks for the 4 months, man. I appreciate that. What? 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 LMAOO is... Yeah. Okay. At this point, I think Twitch settings might have reset themselves to a very strict auto mod. Because what the fuck is going on? Holy shit! What the... Okay, guys. I'm gonna take a break to actually look at my auto mod settings, because what the hell is going on right now? Thank you, Plaus, by the way. I've been dealing with this all stream, and I was dealing with it, but, like, it just got more active since you showed up. Like, there have been, like, 3 times as many filters since you got here. Like, as far as the velocity goes. So I'm gonna go to my control panel and be like, community, nope, content, where is it? Set it, moderation, settings, auto mod and holy shit, it set itself to max. There we go. There we go. I have it set to the lowest thing before completely off now. Well, that was timely! You get the victory fanfare after changing the auto mod settings. We did it! Oh no, I'm in YouTube right now. I hope nobody in YouTube is, like, chatting, because I'm not checking the YouTube at all. This is for, like, automatic... This is so that my VODs are in more than one place, and one of them is a lot more permanent than the other. That's it. I still can't believe it filtered redneck. That was crazy. Yeah, I've never had auto mod on maximum, so the fact that it was on maximum now is that's kind of sus. That's kind of sus. on my way to spread slurs in YouTube. Now, you see, YouTube's auto mod I do leave at maximum for that reason. And I'm just not gonna bother on... YouTube is supposed to be autopiloted. That's my opinion, but the way the moderation works in YouTube, it's supposed to be set high and autopiloted. That's just basically what they seem to want. So I'm fine leaving it that way. All right, I'm gonna set a hard limit to the yapping. We need to get into security by an hour industry, so that I can claim at least some of this for my CPEs. Yes, Plaus is correct. It did flag it for swearing. And I knew why. It was just like, really? Even on max, even on maximum filtering, that's a stretch. I wouldn't set it that high if my son were streaming. Which, by the way, he was like, Dad, I want a YouTube channel. And he's like, son, I want to say yes, and I want to set that up for you. But, like, that's a very complicated thing, security-wise, for somebody your age. And he just doesn't understand why I can't just, hey, Dad, can I have a streaming channel now? And he just doesn't get it. He's like, that's a lot of work, boy. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of settings I have to check. That's not the first time I've said Plaus was correct, Saru. I will say it again. Plaus was correct. But no. But yeah, like, gatekeeping secondaries is absolutely valid. And I had the same problem with anime, and I am sure, Saru also had this problem. Where you will have people who have very, very strong opinions with anime that were not even alive, much less conscious of anime content and anime trends, when Moe Blob hit. Who here was alive when Moe Blob hit? I know Plaus was. I'm not sure if he was into anime at the time, but I know he's at least old enough. Is there anybody in chat who doesn't even know what Moe Blob means? Americans never deserved learning about anime. True. Yeah, you noticed it? Yeah, cool. Me. So Noodle doesn't know what Moe Blob is. Stoic. Inac. Guys, once upon a time, there was no cute girls doing cute things in anime. It wasn't a thing yet. Cute girls doing cute things didn't exist. And then Lucky Star happened. And then it was nothing but... Or it could have also been Melancholy. It was one of those two that kicked it off. They probably kicked it off together. But when I tell you we had 12 solid years of cute girls doing cute things as the dominant genre in anime, there's a reason I stopped watching anime about 2004, 2005. You just could not get away from that genre. And now all I watch is rom-coms. Go figure. If you've never watched a rom-com with your wife on the couch at 9 p.m., you're not living. Rom-com anime, I should say, like Toradora. It sold, yeah, it sure did. But most people don't remember. And one of the things that was really bad, it wasn't till Moe Blobs went isekai that I watched any. Nice. That tells me you got into anime after Moe Blob was a thing, because, yeah, it killed all the mecha anime, straight up. That's when the mecha drought happened. It killed that. It also killed all anime that was, like, basically, and I was about to get into this, it killed all the anime that was drawn on black paper, and, if you don't know what I mean, You have to watch one. Lirio X is one of the anime that was drawn on black paper, or like on a black background. Um, because it's not actually on paper, you know, it's cell, it's layered, but like with the background primary being black, it's an entirely different vibe. X was good. I like X a lot, but I won't say it was good. The anime I disliked a lot, despite buying all of it. I'm like, I was on the pure, it's going to get good eventually copium. My sister says it will get good. I trust my sister. It will get good. It never got good. Technically, the ending I liked. I did like the ending of the series. I thought that was better. I thought it not better. I thought it was as good as the ending of the movie. But the ending of the movie is the only reason I really like the movie. So there's also that. But the animation in the movie, holy shit. If you just want to like get high and not pay attention to the crazy story you won't understand unless you've also read the manga. If you just want to get high and watch something trippy, the X 1999 OVA is fucking fantastic. I know it as X the movie, but like outside of anime, that also refers to like 3 or 4 other films. That's exact. I knew it. I called it. That's exactly why you enjoyed X. That's a good reason to enjoy it. If you want to get absolutely zooted and just watch that film, yeah. Yeah. I liked the ending when it stopped and there was nothing. Yeah, I loved that. God, waifu hates that ending. She refuses to watch that movie because of the ending. It still makes her sad. It still makes her cry. She dislikes it immensely. I think all the MySpace emo girls discovering anime merch did drive a lot of Moe Blob. That reminds me of the point I was going to make before. Because I don't think it was that. One of the things Moe Blob, you get waifu's reaction? Tell me more. One of the things Moe Blob did was make an entire genre out of poorly animated. I think Moe Blob was poorly animated, and the fact that it was popular and also poorly animated and made money anyway, I think drove the entire industry into a lot of the like. There are people who unironically think our WBY looks good, and I know it's pronounced Ruby, but like, fuck you. How do you even say that, Noodle? But what's the wow to Plaus? Is it that people who think that Ruby is good? Because they're wrong. They're objectively wrong. That's such a terrible anime. Kisniverse? Okay, cool. What? Okay, what I will say is that there are people who think it's animated well. Those are the people who are objectively wrong. I don't know anything about the story. The story might be good. The story might be great. If you like it for the story or something like that, or characterization, I'll give you a pass. But if you like it for the animation, you're just objectively wrong. That's my soapbox, and I'm standing on it. It's unique. Yeah, that's what my wife says about Tank Girl, which she adores Tank Girl. The Gym Girls anime was very pretty. Haven't seen it. I've just started rewatching Claymore. My anime consumption stopped after 2007. I'm right there with you, Stoic. Yeah, the art is ass for Ruby. Thank you, Inek. Story says, nah, I just remember noticing a lot more girls showing up in the anime shops back then. I'm telling you, man, that Bishonen period, that's what did it. That's why they were in the anime shops. That's why my sister, the one you don't know, that's why my sister was in the anime shops, was the Bishonen stuff. Her first manga were yaoi series. Like, her first 3 were yaoi series. I think some of them were like soft yaoi and Suspicious user. I instinctively stopped liking Ruby after Monty passed. I didn't even know about it at the time. What the fuck is on Monty? Yeah, of course. The Fujos ruin everything. I'm never allowed to be on another VTuber stream ever again after saying that. But the Fujos ruin everything. Say that. The Fujos ruin everything. There. Clip it. We should have learned about gatekeeping back then. It wouldn't have mattered, Saru. It wouldn't have mattered. And I have been on this soapbox as well. It's good to gatekeep, but you have to realize when it's a lost cause. And when it's a lost cause is when it's anything that you can buy for money. The people with wallets will make the decisions. You cannot gatekeep people out of something that they can just do for money. You can only gatekeep people who only have access to something by going through you/your community. If they can just buy it, you're toast. People who make cosplay costumes can gatekeep all day long, and it will be very effective. It will be very effective. Because that's not really something that is mass marketed. Yes, money still exchanges hands, but the people who do it are small enough, tight enough group that they can just say no. And they have enough buyers that they can be picky. Kind of like VTuber riggers. V2 riggers can also gatekeep for the same reasons. But when you're talking about mass market anime, you can't gatekeep that. You can't gatekeep Magic. You can't gatekeep D&D. If people have enough money to ignore the neckbeards, then they'll ignore the neckbeards. And whatever the cosplay equivalent of neckbeards is, because, like, all cosplay costume people are seamstresses. They're all women. Like, not literally all of them, but you know what I mean. Same thing with neckbeards. There are women neckbeards. Their neckbeard is just below the belt. Interest in mecha stopped and women interest picked up. Yeah, exactly. Monty was the creator of Ruby. Okay, he animated Dead Fantasy. I don't know that fan series. But yeah, one of the things that youngsters will do is they think shonen being the dominant genre is a new thing that's never happened before. They think shonen being popular is a new thing that hasn't happened before. And they think liking Dragon Ball is a new thing that hasn't happened before. Because they were not alive when shonen was the dominant anime in the 80s and 90s. Like the 80s through the early 90s. There were two genres that were very dominant. It was shonen, and as Saru's mentioned before, mecha. Yeah, there are people who unironically believe that liking shonen is like some sort of new scourge on anime. Cosplay used to be male. Cons had lots of Star Trek long ago. Yep. You know what ruined that? It wasn't anime. It was 7 of 9. 7 of 9 is what changed that. What do you mean, nah, man? What's that? What's that mean? What's nah, man mean? Nah, man to what? Explain. Yeah, in Star Wars cosplays, Leia bikinis. She was that hot at the time. These standards change. At the time, she was that hot. Especially to Star Trek people. And they have different beauty standards. I'm going to say that. And they always have. That's not a new thing. What Trekkies thought was hot in the 70s was not the same thing everybody else was hot, and that continued. But 7 of 9 in general appealed to non-Trekkies. 7 Seven of Nine saved Voyager's ratings. That's a fact. That's not really arguable. So she appealed to more than the diehard crowd, and that's numerically verifiable. There were just, you mean lower? No, I mean different. Some would say it was higher beauty standards back then. That's when we pushed models towards anorexia as a business thing. Like, thick wasn't a thing back then. You better be anorexic and have triple D's at the same time. For some reason, implants were also very popular. I wonder why. It's because you can't have those at the same time. You can't have triple D's and anorexia. Not unless you started with G-cups. Might want to start on security and ad starting in 34 seconds. So I'm going to start the ad and then we'll come back and we'll talk about security because I could go on about gatekeeping all night. Meow 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 meow. You got a Catboy Band ad for Meow Mix? That seems awful targeted, Lirio. That seems awful targeted. They're listening. You know, that's one of the things we're talking about. Doesn't it? Yeah, it seems awful targeted. That's one of the things we're talking about today. I'll switch to whiteboard mode. I've got it ready to go. If I feel like I need to do it, but I think I'm going to do talking head for as long as I can stand it right now. I spent today catching up on chats. Like, I really retreated after Christmas. I was just beat. I saw some pretty interesting more like Comboard, got him. Gotta turn that down. But dude, no, they aren't. I got hymns ads. My joysticks are overactive as is. I also get a lot of hymns ads. And I'm in the same place, man. If I weren't absolutely sure that those things were worse for me than my energy drink habit, I'd give that shit a go. I'll try just about anything for waifu's sake. But let's see. But I'm pretty sure those things cause cancer. That is not a professional opinion, but that's not a product that's rated by the FDA either, so we can both, like, spit past each other on that one. Yeah. So, one of the main thing I want to talk about, and it's a complicated topic, so I only said it as, like, the single topic. I don't think there will be a gaming section today, but I could be talked into it. But, I want to talk about the cybersecurity bubble. And while this is speculative, this is professionally and historically informed. Like, this is... I did not pass the CISSP by, like, not having a bunch of experience under my belt already. Yes, there was a lot of studying involved. But, I overstudied. Well, truth be told, I don't think overstudying is actually a thing. I study all of my certification exams until I am confident I'm going to get a 100. Or whatever the top marks for the exam is. /R. I guess you would use R for plural there. But, when it comes to taking exams, I do not take the exam, and I certainly don't fork over money for it until I know that I'm going to get... Like, if I walk in drunk, I'll get an 80%. That's when I feel ready to take an exam. If I have a hangover and I'm sick with the flu at the same time, I'll get an 80. And sure enough, on my CISSP, I did as well as you can do. They don't release what that is, but I ended the exam on question 125, which is the soonest that exam can end because it's variable. If you end the test at 125, you have either failed or passed spectacularly. And you don't know until you get to the front desk. It doesn't tell you at the time of the test. Anywho, cybersecurity, I think, is in a bit of a bubble. And I just don't know how long that bubble's going to last. So, this isn't going to be anything you could use for investment advice or anything like that, but we're in a bubble. I don't know how large that bubble is going to get before it pops. I do know the drivers behind that bubble. And it involves a lot of insurance company shenanigans. Honestly, what bubble doesn't involve insurance company shenanigans? Okay, investing all my life savings on shorts now. Are you shorting shorts? Because I'm a firm I'm pretty bullish on mini skirts. I think mini skirts are going up. I'm bearish on pants. Those should come down. That's old boomer humor. Anyway, so true. So what's going on? Why do I think we're in a bubble? I think we're in a bubble because we're seeing a lot of overhead costs for cybersecurity, and companies are not in a position where they can just say no to that. And I think that's the biggest problem right there. So one of the things you have going on right now, I'm going to turn my mic down just a bit. One of the things you've got going on right now is that you do not have a choice on whether or not you have cybersecurity insurance. Now, there's no central law, at least in America, saying that you have to have cybersecurity insurance. But it's like a contractual STD. Chances are you are doing business, like if you're a big enough company, even small to medium size, chances are you have contracts with a business, and it only takes one. You have contracts with a business that is mandated to have these things. That's going to basically be any government entity, um, any industry that's regulated by the SEC, roughly. Um, and that's a huge chunk. That is a huge chunk of the economy. So, if you're providing technical services, do you think Google tomorrow could decide that it's not going to have enough security to be able to host CGIS data or military contracts? Or do you think one of the world's largest cloud providers is just going to be like, wow, this security shit's just too expensive? Yes, because the gov and all their Adobe knowledge need all this security it can get. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. But the problem is not every business needs to be running up to the 80.53 standards. Like, not everything needs to be NHS compliant. Not everything needs to be, what was it, NJCID? Or NCJID? Something like that. NAJCID. It's some alphabet soup thing like that. Not everything needs 800.171. Like, not everything needs to be fully compliant with ITIL. And I'll just keep throwing the acronyms out because there's way too many of them, and that's part of the problem. Um, the problem is if they have just one contract that needs that stuff, they have the choice of creating two sandbox environments, one for the secure shit and one for how they normally do business, or they can just have one thing that's up to all of those standards. And economy of scale generally demands that everything be at that highest level, because running duplicate systems isn't very cost effective. So, can anyone tell me what happens to insurance rates when you're mandated to have it? Because there's a lot of silly shit that insurance requires you to have that my colleagues could tell you is not effective. How many people remember pre Affordable Health Care Act in the United States? How many people remember before that? Because I do. I remember when you left your parents' insurance at the age of 18. I have not. I haven't seen. I have not seen any insurance rates go down, and that was when the mandates were still legal. See, that was the thing. When the I try not to get partisan stoic. I also call it Obamacare, like in private company, but I'm trying to like, we'll call it Obamacare, but God, it's important for me to know the name of the acts, like in my professional life. Eh, and I'm not telling you not to say it. You say that all day long because it's true. Cash for Clunkers has similar problems for the same reasons. Um, and I think Obamacare, because of what it did, like, you know a system by what it does. Obamacare was just a payout to donors. It was a payout to the insurance system. Just the same way Trump's AI stuff is a payout to the people who helped get him elected. It's the same damn thing. It's just one is more influential than the other to like your everyday life. Anywho, um, the promised price cuts never happened. And a lot of people will blame ending the individual mandate on that, but that took years to happen, and prices never once came down. And that's what the whole point of the act was. The whole point of the act was not to, like, mitigate the increase in cost. Prices were supposed to come down, which everybody knew was bullshit at the time. Everyone knew that was bullshit except the people on CNN. Prices don't come down. The whole problem is the insurers themselves. And I don't know a more universal opinion that crosses as many party lines as insurance being a scam. Like, insurance is like any other company. It's going to make money. It's legalized gambling. It's just in the transferring risk sort of legalized gambling. It transfers individual risk to a group at a price. It will always be profitable because it's just a numbers game, and the house will always win. And when it comes to healthcare, which I'll leave healthcare alone in a second, but there's a little there's how many parents are in chat? Because any parent in chat can tell you that they have direct experience with the hospitals trying to keep them in the maternity ward as many days as they possibly can because they can charge insurance like $10,000, $20,000 a day. So they will, if you do not know your patient's rights, you are a prisoner for 3 days. Because they will absolutely keep you in there for 3 days so that they can rack up the bill on your insurance company. It's one of the easiest things ever. They give you really shitty meals. So, like, you don't even get free meals because you're going out to get your wife real food. Even fake fast food is better than what they serve you in the hospital. And then they're charging insurance like 15 to 20 grand a day, 10 in some places, you know, in the real cheap places. With you know, I don't know the reason because the 20,000 isn't based on the hospital's costs. That's for damn sure. But they will insist that you stay for at least 3 days, and I think after 3 days is when insurance stops paying. So that's like what that's why that's something that Nero could clarify exactly why it's 3 days, because I'm sure that comes straight down to the portion. Is dystopia over there? Is dystopia anywhere where you're like, hey man, here's a service you are forced to buy? It's a dystopia in the UK too. Like, you got a license for that butter knife? Like, that's a real thing. You have to pay them a license to watch television. Even if you don't watch television. They'll literally raid your house if you're not paying to make sure you don't have a TV. To make sure you're not stealing the television. The quality programming of the BBC. Like, let's not pretend this is a United States thing. It's a United States healthcare thing. And it's largely because insurance companies are so involved in the process. Um, the problem is it's legally required to have that license. Yes, and it's legally required. It was, and in some places still is, legally required to have the insurance. That was Obamacare. That was the whole thing. I heard recently they tried to classify monitors as TVs for the TV license thing. Don't know if it ever went through. That sounds like something they would do for sure. Yeah. Now, the individual mandate was ended because it's literally not constitutional. But we have all sorts of de facto forced things we have to purchase. Because it doesn't matter, actually, that the individual mandate isn't written in paper. De facto, you have to have insurance. Because since the hospital can charge insurance companies $20,000 a night for your baby visit in the maternity ward, they must charge people without insurance that much, or the insurance company's going to be like, hey, you're charging us 20 grand. Why aren't you charging them 20 grand? So, like, anybody who can't pay that isn't insured, that's a write-off. So that is also rolled into the cost that they charge the insurance companies, and that's why it's not actually a choice to be uninsured. Because the people who are in, like, it's so ubiquitous that the people who are insured govern the price of these things. Yeah, that's the most expensive hotel ever. What the hell? Yeah, it's true. But the reason they can charge that is because the insurance companies are willing to pay it. And the insurance companies are willing to pay it because the insurance companies can just set their rates. What are you going to do? Be uninsured? Like, they serve food, technically, but, like, I wouldn't serve the food the hospitals serve to British people. But yeah, what are you going to do? Not have insurance? That was an option 15 to 20 years ago. Just paying the doctor was an option 15 to 20 years ago. I can still do it with my dentist. I did do it with my dentist like 8 years before I had like decent 8 years ago before I had decent dental insurance. I just paid my dentist directly. That's still very doable with a dentist on like the median income. I had like 2 extractions. I've got an implant going. Most of the implants out of pocket because insurance doesn't cover a lot of that. Cosmetic. They're not completely wrong, but like I'm paying that out of pocket and it's fine. What was the There's also legal structures to keep this in place. Like, I believe it's still a thing that insurance companies aren't allowed to market in, across state lines for certain kinds of insurance. And I think health insurance is one of those, which is a really weird thing. There are some things showing up that are not insurance called like healthcare savings accounts or shared accounts that are trying to like bite back against that. I don't know how successful they're going to be, but they tend to be faith-based and basically charity-based. Well, not entirely charity, but they tend to be faith-based. But the point is, because insurance is so the insurance company actually doesn't do anything. And that's what's going on I see this starting to happen in security, where there's a lot of things that we wouldn't do unless the insurance company mandated it. When I tell you that there's a portion of the you're right, Noodle. They do something. They steal. They raise the cost. They raise the cost of healthcare for everybody. And the hospitals are complicit. The hospitals are absolutely complicit. When the insurance company always makes money, no matter what the hospitals charge, because the insurance company merely raises its rates because of how mandated it is and how de facto you have to have it, they get in a cycle. But it's like, well, if the insurance company will pay whatever I can tell them the service costs, then I will just charge them whatever I want. And then no matter what you charge the insurance company, they also make a profit. So they don't really care how much the hospital is claiming. They just adjust their rates, and then it's fine for them. So it's incestuous. Never forget that Obama is on record. He is on record for saying that the Affordable Health Care Act was a gateway to single payer because that's what he actually wanted. He knew it was garbage. He knew it was garbage when he rammed it through. And he probably knew the individual mandate was unconstitutional when he rammed it through. Because the way he defended it being constitutional while it was going through Congress was not the same way he defended it as being constitutional when it was going through the Supreme Court. Because he didn't call it a tax until it got to the Supreme Court. And then he said it was a tax. And then the Supreme Court said, well, no, not really. It's not structured or implemented as a tax at all. And I'm not going to get into the Supreme Court history of the AHCA. The problem is we're going the same route where insurance companies are like, a friend of mine was previously an insurance advisor at hospitals to make sure under overpayments didn't happen. Affordable Care Act removed his position. That's interesting, Saru. Makes your noggin jog, don't it? But yeah, the compliance costs, like, we have to have a training program, and it's a tick box. Do you or do you not have a security awareness program that is run on an annual basis for all your employees? And if you have that, I won't say your insurance rate goes down. What happens is that your insurance rate does not increase for that specific reason. People like to say that that's like, oh, well, you can lower your insurance costs by doing it. No, what happens is you raise your insurance costs by not doing it. Because the null hypothesis here is that you're not paying anything. It's girl math. It's woman math. It's like when she sees, like, nobody in your house eats Oreos on a regular basis, but if she sees the Oreos are a buy one, get one free, she'll buy them and say that she saved money. You're right, I do need to ping you. I'll remind you to do that. I'll remind you to ping me to ping you. You missed the entire... Yeah, Chronocross. You missed the entire rant on gatekeeping and FF7 and how much our other sister turned me off of FF7 with her Bishonen doomed yaoi. You missed that whole thing. Fujo's ruin everything. But that's okay, you lived it. That's true. You don't have to be told. You were there. Look at this bottle. It's so pretty. Look at this. Ain't that neat? That's what Joey got me. Real name mentioned? Yeah, good luck. Like Joey from Friends? Yes, absolutely. I have actually, my sister says, I have actually explained other sisters' effect on that game. Don't look in Totally Real General? Oh no. I am not looking in Totally Real General. Oh. Uh-oh. I think I'll have a topic for next week's stream. What do you think, Plaus? I think my topic for next week's stream is teed up. Do 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 do. Yeah. All right. Where was I? So, I'm a big believer in retaining as little data as you possibly can, which makes me kind of a thorn. You think the topic for my next stream might be very hot topic? Well, then we're just looping, because the topic I started stream with was a hot topic, as in where you could get Bishonen Sephiroth merch because you didn't play the game but loved the character. Not because he was voiced by Lance Bass in Kingdom Hearts, but because you really liked him as a character. Drinking the tequila neat now. Man, fucking hot topic. I knew it. I knew it. It's like we share a brain cell or a childhood. Speaking of hot topic, other sister's favorite character of the main three in FF102 is Pain. Shocker. Shocker. I'm totally surprised. Insofar as she had a favorite character from Chrono Cross, it was definitely Lynx. Dude, I'm not gonna yuck your yum, but as emo as I was, I thought Pain was ugly. I did not like her style at all. You're right, it's Haru. But like, of the guys, it's gonna be Lynx. Or it could be... I keep wanting to call him Magus because that's actually who that is. I forgot his stage name. The Bishy characters. Guile. It was really Guile? That Guile's theme does not go with everything. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. I spent an entire first hour of stream talking about that. So when it comes to data retention policies, or basically what's driving the entire insurance thing, is another incestuous little relationship. Is that the big way to make money in tech right now is to collect and analyze as much data as you possibly can, which also means storing it for some length of time. And Spicy says Wincest Poggers. Anyway, the whole problem with that is that it creates a lot of risk for a lot of people. So there started to be laws passed for very specific industries on what data you could collect and why. And this actually predates GDPR by quite a bit. California was actually the first state with comprehensive laws on internet privacy. And there was an Internet Privacy Act in the United States before GDPR. And in some ways, GDPR is better, and in other ways, GDPR is actually worse. But GDPR is actually modeled after California's Internet Privacy Act. Fun fact. Why does that glass look like that? Anywho. Usually I'm a small government kind of guy. But I'm not a throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of guy. The data collection market has to be regulated in some way, and current regulations are just not enough. analyzing human behavior to sell them product as the biggest industry on the planet is an unsustainable problem. And that's why insurance companies are making so much money right now, because because we couldn't just say, okay, we're going to shut down the biggest part of the American economy, and I would say even the biggest part of the global economy. We're just going to make it more expensive by forcing people to buy insurance so that when the inevitable happens, that risk is covered and there will be an insurance payout. The problem is insurance is gambling and the house never loses. So what you're getting is like this thing where if you are doing anything in cyber, if you're doing anything, you have to have a security level up to the point where you might as well be storing sensitive shit because your security protocols are already there. At least if you're insurable. An organization I've worked for had their insurance threatened to not insure them anymore, and that organization could only buy the most expensive insurance there was because they weren't following this laundry list of things. And I need to write down some of those things because I keep starting to mention them and then getting derailed by like I don't know. My sister showing up in the chat, who is a delight to talk with always. Not because we bounce off of each other and like echo our own opinions at each other and agree with each other on almost everything. That has nothing to do with it at all. Lurk, my resolution is whooping my ass. Enjoy your lurk, Inek. The better RM. Yeah. So the mandatory training is part of the insurance thing. The mandatory security awareness training. Anybody who's been through this knows how inadequate it is. It's like, I would rate most annual security awareness trainings at the level of, like, Wendy's training videos from the 80s. And if you've never seen those, they're funny. Actually, yeah. For that reason, I think the Wendy's training videos are better. Because at least they're cringe in an energetic way. The people who made those videos tried. They tried a little too hard, but they tried. Chatting with RM is just a socially acceptable way of me talking to a mirror? Same. Wait a minute. Wendy's nuts hit your face! Oh, got him! Thanks, Noodle. I needed that. I needed that 20-something-year-old energy. Why are Wendy's burgers square? So that they don't have... Because they don't cut corners. I was going to give the real answer. I wasn't prepared for the dad joke. Which, you know, that's my failing. That's my fault. So they don't have the negative space in the packaging. That's why they're square. The training is bad. Just universally. You don't get rewarded for making your training better, by the way. That's also a thing we know. People are either teachable or they're very not. They're very not. And we're running into a... We have had a confidence crisis in the workforce for a long time. Holding people accountable seems to be something that just doesn't happen anymore. Maybe I've just been in government too long. But even the stories my wife tells about where she works, accountability seems to be a real problem these days. It's like, wow, when I was new to the workforce, this story you're telling would have just been an instant fired on the spot thing, and you're telling me this person has a long history of this? What the fuck? So, like, now when they tried this on my wife is when they started to actually start the process of getting her fired. Fancy that. My work stories would align with waifu stories. Can confirm it's a thing. Yeah. So it's like public or private sector, it's like accountability is just not a thing anymore, which is weird. Probably comes from that soft on crime thing. Or actually the causality is probably reversed. That's probably what caused the soft on crime era, which I'm not going to get into exactly why I'm so confident about this and why I know this is a thing, but we know, it's not even debatable. We know that soft on crime doesn't work. We know community investment doesn't work to reduce crime. We know this. And if you want to like get mad in my chat about how like that's wrong for one reason or the other, I'm not going to explain it to you. I just happen to know. I know that that's wrong. The data is in. What I can tell you is whoever convinced you of it, because it wasn't you independently, whoever convinced you of that, is selling you something. You're wrong, Smedge, like as a person. Yeah, Hammurabi's code might fix a few things. It might. But yeah, like, nobody's on time. Nobody even cares about being on time. Does this benefit me personally? Yes, but not because I'm not on time. It's because people are unwilling to hold me to a dress code because I'm competent. So the lack of standards also helps me a little bit, but I have shown I absolutely will put on a suit if people make me. but RM, there's no studies done on crime. Not only are there studies done on crime, they're not reproducible and the data's made up. Oh man, don't ask me how I know that one. This is related to a data retention issue. This is related to a data retention issue. That's all, folks. I'm Elmer Fudding over here. Translation, none of the studies support my fake worldview. How do you know that one? There might be a PC in a secure cabinet with a hard drive on it that I have to keep for some number of years in case the police want it. That's how I know that one. Wait, you mean they started their studies with the conclusion? Teehee. They didn't even start. Well, yeah, they did start with the conclusion, but I would be loath to call it a study. It was a fabrication. The reproducibility crisis is not just in soft sciences anymore. This is another part of the accountability thing. Is that, and I think I'm having problems socially with people who have never been held accountable. I think that's a thing. That's a nowhere's no kind of moment. But we're having problems in the so-called hard sciences now. Soft science because it makes my dick soft. It can't, depending on which one you're talking about. Yes. Like, basically all of psychology and sociology. Psychology has had a terrible reproducibility crisis for the last 2 decades. They have ruined everything. Because what psychology and sociology did was they take their unfounded mumbo-jumbo bullshit and they decided to word it in such a way that firmer disciplines had to incorporate their bullshit into, like, their management styles. So now all of those institutions are infected with this stuff where the retraction rate is like 70%. I think that's what Psych's retraction rate is up to now. It's like 70% retraction rate for psychology papers. Like, they have a worse rap than dietitians. And if you're not old enough to get that joke, wait 20 years. because they're never getting that right. Who pinged me? Oh, I don't know what permissions you have, Kaviri. I don't know what stream cord is. I will get with you on that later. Oh, I don't. Am I pot or kettle? Yeah, I'm pot. You added the wrong person, man. Kettle owns that server. Wait, 20 years? God damn it. My sister's being funny. I don't like it when my sister's funnier than me. That makes me as funny as her, because I'm in the mirror, apparently. It's all very confusing. The, yeah. Kaviri's working on your stream ping notification, sis. It's weird calling you sis. I usually just call her by her name, and that's a thing I don't want to do on stream. Let's see. Oh, I had... Omni, are you still here? Go tell your brother there's some choice stuff for him over in Petcha's server. He'd like it. My name is Sylph. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, when I like linked your socials to my chat for the collab, the first thing they pointed out was your your lack of OPSEC. Her reflection is way less attractive. True. Zozo? Never heard of it. Never heard of it. That will be an inside joke until it isn't. Let's see. So yeah, you've got this contractual mandatory use of cyber insurance because the alternative is banning the largest segment of the economy. So insurance companies are a band-aid over that. And what that has led to is that there's a lot of security protocols that are entirely pushed from the top down by insurance companies, by people not actually doing the work, by people who don't understand the work. And I was getting into this thing where I was talking about data retention because I'm a big don't keep data you don't need kind of person. But the field I'm in has pretty unique requirements for that. Because our data retention period is unlimited for certain types of data. Like, at what point do you throw out research? Well, the answer is you don't. And that's why I have a problem with a lot of this stuff living purely digitally. We actually do keep a lot of paper records. But for the stuff I'm talking about, I don't think there are paper records, and that's a problem. Because, you know, at least in my generation, and I'm sure every generation after that, everybody in grade school is taught that, like, the burning of the Library of Alexandria was one of the worst things to ever happen to the world, right? We're kind of in the same situation. So all this academic slop, because a lot of it is, like, I can't tell you how much in the Library of Alexandria was actually true, but I can tell you a lot of the stuff we hold on to right now isn't. But yeah, but we're all taught that. We're all taught that, like, oh, the burning of Alexandria was like, the library was like basically the worst thing, and it's why the Dark Ages happened, and blah blah, which that's not true. But it caused the Dark Ages, and blah blah blah, and it set us back 400 years, and all this other stuff. But like, we're all taught that in grade school. So like, it's this big moral push that you don't destroy academic data. So I've got some unique challenges there as far as data retention policy goes, because I have to convince people to let go of stuff that it isn't important. But it's also a security thing, because maybe we will get hit with another accusation of somebody literally fabricating data. And if that data is older than 5 years and we got rid of it because it was older than 5 years, that helps that accusation stick. Now, that's not what happened in that particular case, but it is a risk. But that's different than the data collection I'm talking about. The data collection, it just happened to Lirio. It's like suddenly Lirio's being served ads about boy bands because I was talking about boy bands. Why was I talking about boy bands? My sister knows. Very curious. But the whole point is, we elected to, instead of banning something that was obviously bad for normal people, because it's such of a big part of the economy, we said, oh, we'll pass this on to insurance companies. So insurance companies are writing a bunch of rules about stuff they don't know anything about. I'm sure insurance companies, and they leave the rules nebulous enough to cover the things they don't know what they're talking about. One of the biggest problems with cybersecurity standards is that they can never get really down to the procedure level, and they're intentionally vague, but you have to comply with them. I wish I could get into specifics, because that's a hard thing to... Did you guys know that the rear view camera for backing up is mandated? It's not that it's a convenience, it's that you literally can't buy a car without one in the United States. Yeah, it's mandated. That's why they all have them. I'm pretty sure that's why they all have infotainment centers in the dash now, is because they already needed the screen for the rear view camera. My car was made just before the mandate, but I did know for once. Good for you. Yeah. Yeah. So that was not an organic part of the industry. A lot of the reasons cars cost a lot of money is this kind of thing I'm talking about, with the insurance, where the economy took a front seat, or specific segments of the economy that we don't actually need took a front seat, and common sense took a back seat. And a lot of people like to pretend that's capitalism, especially the young and the ignorant. But that's the stuff I'm describing are command economy actions. Like, mandating that a camera be installed in a car is a command economy action. That's like the opposite of capitalism. Most of the things people complain about capitalism are literally the opposite. It's like healthcare. Healthcare is the opposite of capitalism in the United States. It is government fiat, top and down. Because I remember from the before times. I'm old enough to remember the before times, and I'm not even that old. Like, a lot has changed. Yeah, crumple zones, that's a mandated thing. That's why when your car's in a fender bender, the entire front half is completely totaled. And you know why that is? It was to make the interstate safe enough to push the speed limit up to 70 miles an hour. That's why everybody's car has all this crap on it. Was so that they could push the top speed up by 5 miles per hour. That's why there are side airbags and passenger airbags and crumple zones and roll cages. That's all of that is to make it safe to go above 55 miles an hour, above 60 miles an hour, above 65. Yeah. No seatbelt in sight. Not in the 70s, not even in the 80s. And then seatbelts were mandated. Or using them was. First, it was installing them was mandated. Then it was using them was mandated. Then the airbags were mandated. You know. Then the roll cages, then the side airbags, then the crumple zones, the backup cameras. No. That's the Don Julio I was showing you earlier. I'm drinking it before it skunks. I remember when they mandated wearing seatbelts. That's what Stoic says. Me too. I remember that. Yeah, so, the same thing is happening in security. Like, I'm talking about all of these other industries to give y'all a point of reference, because talking about cybersecurity is difficult. Because most people's concept of cybersecurity is like this hacker man shit. But in reality, it's mandatory security awareness programs and other bureaucratic stuff like that. My grandfather taught at University of Michigan for automotive engineering. Neat. That's a neat fact about you, Saru. That makes some other stuff line up and make sense. But, like, yeah. It's like people just throw the word capitalism around not knowing what it means. Not that any group of any generation has ever done that. I'm sure millennials also do not throw around words that they don't know what they mean, and that Gen X never did that, and that boomers never did that. I'm sure that's exclusive to Zoomers who are uneducated about the economy. I'm sure that's exclusive to them. Like, I'm not trying to target Zoomers. Every generation has this shit. But, like, literal command economy conditions being called capitalism will never not be funny to me. Frustrating, but funny. Like, you keep using that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means. Though if you've actually read Marx, you know that capitalism is the ism for every system that Marx's system, which was ghostwritten by other people, isn't. It's literally every system in history except for his, which will fix the ism. But hey, what the fuck do I know? He tried to implement the function that the car wouldn't start without the seatbelt on instead of making a new rule. Boo this man! Boo this man! My truck yells at me when my seatbelt's not on. It's annoying. But, and it's an older truck. But, you know, one of the reasons that people don't work on cars as a hobby anymore is because you can't... That's for my sister. You actually read Marx, you'll become dumber about capitalism? I don't know. It seems the dumbest you can get is pretending to have read Marx. I think that's the bottom of that barrel. I think I have a copy of Das Kapital sitting up here somewhere. I'm not going to spend all stream looking for it, but it's there somewhere. Might be on my other bookshelf. Because I took some of the controversial books off my shelf when I realized I'd be streaming. I don't want to get people confused because they assume that you read Marx because you're a commie. No. Speaking of good books to read, John Hornfisher's Neptune's Inferno. You should read that one. I gave that to one of my goddaughters. Oh, you weren't around for this. I have godchildren now. That's a new as of last year thing. Let's see. Yeah, I'll tell you about that later. The anyway, I ended she's like 12 years old. And I gave her the book about Guadalcanal. It's like, you need to read this. I will say one of the greatest crimes of K through 12 in America, and I bet it's this way in Europe as well. I can almost guarantee it's also this way in Europe for the same reasons. Is how much they focus on the German front and don't say anything at all about the Pacific. You're right, ads soon. I'm going to take a water break because I keep going through it. I'll just start the ads now. I wonder if I can click that before... Run! I'm going to keep talking a little bit. Because actually, I realized I have plenty of water in here. Because I filled up, like, 2 glasses on my last break. So, you'll just have to sit through the ads and watch me talk. But it won't be about, like, anything too important. But, like, I don't really feel like taking a break, so I won't. I won't just get out of my seat. Just because the ads are running. What was I going to say? I was going to say something, and I'm like, I'm not going to say anything important over the break, and now my mind is blanking. Pacific during World War II? Yeah, I don't remember that being mentioned at all in high school. Yeah, and that's a crime. It was the worst front by far. I dare say it had more atrocities, depending on which side you were on. Like, you hear all about the fire... Well, actually, when I was in school, they didn't teach us about the firebombing of Dresden, but I'm pretty sure that's a thing that's covered in Europe. But nobody covers the firebombing of Tokyo, which killed more people. By like a factor of 10. I remember hearing about how shitty attacking islands was. Yeah, that's about the extent anyone ever goes through the Pacific in K-12. When I was in K-12, the World War II segment was where I learned where all the European countries were. And at the time, I knew them. But y'all are little shits, and your lines keep changing. And you keep making up countries because somebody decided they would be on a different side of the Eastern Bloc loyalty lines this year. Y'all keep making shit up. Hee Thanks, Noodle. Yeah, more died in Tokyo bombings than the 2 big ones. And not only... Yeah, and we didn't just do it in Tokyo. But yeah, the most you learn about the Pacific Theater is how we won the war with nukes. But what I was getting at, what my point was, this is a good segue for the break. My point is that as the map was in the 90s, by the time the World War II segment was over, I, as an American, could tell you where every Euro and Russia-Euro country was. Before Bill Clinton helped change some of the lines over there. And sorry about that. Not too many of the lines have changed, to be fair, but that Eastern Bloc shit, that has changed quite a bit. So you'll have to forgive me if I don't know exactly what Belarus and Estonia look like these days. But I think those are one of the ones that haven't changed. It was the ones in the south that changed, like Czechoslovakia and stuff. Those places. But anyway, my point is, I, as an American, knew all 50 of my states, But I also knew, yeah, Yugoslavia. I also knew where all the Euro countries were because of our World War II segment. And they don't teach you where all the Pacific Islands we used were or why they were important. Because the reason we were on them is because they were navigationally important. But we couldn't learn that. Yeah, Czech and Slovakia split, Slovenia added. I can't quite remember what happened with Croatia, but I remember, yeah, Truck. I know where that is now. Truck was massively important. It was just up the slot. That's why we were fighting in the slot in Iron Bottom Sound in Guadalcanal, which is actually a collection of islands with all sorts of names. Yeah, most have only heard of Midway. Oh, we won at Midway. Nobody won at Midway. Like, strategically, we won at Midway, but, like, Midway was bad. But they tell you how we won at Midway, but not why. They also don't tell you how much we won. Yeah, the Solomon Islands. Okay, Croatia split off from Yugoslavia, which is what you were trying to tell me earlier, but stop changing your goddamn map and I wouldn't embarrass myself. Stop changing your map. When's the last time Florida changed its lines? The 1700s? 1800s? Somewhere back then. The United States is now older than some European countries. Suck it! But yeah, you know, you're also not taught that Austria didn't start World War I, but that's another stream on maybe a different channel. Austria didn't start that war. But yeah, the Pacific theater was awful. And it was more... You just watched a video on that? Did the title of that video happen to include the phrase Bankers Wars? Because that's a fun one. Russia probably most responsible. Yeah, probably. Around the time of World War I, there was a lot of crap going on in Russia. Holy shit. No, a straight military history. Okay, okay. You could spend an entire year just on the Solomon Islands. To say nothing of Leyte Gulf, the Philippines in general, Indonesia, Java. You should absolutely know where Truck is. You should know just exactly where Guam is. I guarantee you that unless you're really geographically competent, Guam is in a way different place than you think it is. Guam is out there. Oh. Back when the Tsar was still a thing. Which, you know, that's like a lot of Russia's history. The Tsar not being a thing is the modern thing. Guys, I don't think democracies are stacking up very well against the monarchical period. I hate to say it. But, like, the age of democracies is what? I mean, I know the United States is... Well, the United States is a constitutional republic, but, you know, we changed a few things in the Constitution. It's effectively a democracy now, which was bad for us. But, like, our country is, like, 250 years old, but, like, democracy didn't get really popular until, like, a bit after that. My response to democracy is ask the people who invented it how that worked out. Yeah, it didn't work out for them, which is why We thought we could do it better by having a constitutional republic to address the things that democracy did, like where the people could vote themselves money, and then the and then we basically unbicameraled our bicameral Congress, and wouldn't you know it, one of the first court fights we ever had in the United States was whether or not people could vote themselves money, and the answer was yes. So that was a failure. That one involved Hamilton. I forget what side he was on, to be honest. Well, someone has definitely seemed to have learned that if you import many people, you import votes. Yeah, when you have birthright citizenship. Absolutely. And that's not a new problem. Man, kids think that's a new political football. That was an old political football in 84. That horse was beaten to death in 84. Like 4 times we have had major votes on amnesty now, border control later, and the border control never happens, and the amnesty always does, and we keep giving Wimpy that hamburger. We keep giving Wimpy that hamburger. There is not a first world country on this planet who has an immigration system as lax as the United States. Not one. Not one. There's a streamer some people like who was kicked out of a European country for not following those things. And their home country is stricter than ours. And the people over there are currently very upset that it is getting less strict. I'm just saying. Vague post about that all day. Kicking VTubers out of your country. Based. Yeah. Well, if I take their story at their word, that's a big caveat. That's a big caveat. But I'm going to assume that if you say something in public, that I'm allowed to take it as genuine information. It's a liar's fault for being a liar. Let's see. And never forget that, chat. It is always the liar's fault for lying. There's a lot of people these days, and this goes beyond specific situations. There's a lot of people these days that try to convince you that being fooled by a liar is somehow your fault. That's one of the biggest problems, and that's why social engineering is so effective. Like, our biggest problem in cybersecurity is people, because you can't have a zero trust system when people are involved. People are trusting. You know, you want to do the black pill about people who are like, they're born inherently as bad and they have to be taught to be good. That's not true. I don't think the inverse is true either. But if you think that people are just born evil, you're wrong. Because we cannot convince people to stop trusting other human beings. We cannot make them do it on pain of being fired, on pain of being fined, on pain of being jailed. We cannot convince people to shut the fuck up. Do you think if we were inherently evil, we would have to put people in jail for trusting people too much? No. But we do. And people still do it. People still lose their jobs over it. All the time, every day, every second of every day. Somebody is losing their job because they clicked a link. Because somebody was offering them something. Every single day. At least every hour. Somebody is getting socially engineered by somebody that they trust. Or at least they think it's a person that they trust. Somebody is posing to be a trusted person. No. I don't buy the inherently evil bit. I don't. I think there's something to original sin, but people are not inherently evil. Like, that just doesn't work. And I can tell you that by being in security. If people were inherently evil, they would be more aware of evil. And they're not. Learning how to think like a bad guy is a transformative experience that you can never go back from. And it wouldn't be that way if you were inherently just an evil bastard. That's your security tip of the day. Humans trust people. And when they don't, we call that pathology, because it is. That is a pathology when you can't trust people anymore. Because what happens when you can't trust people? Like, really game that out. When you can't trust people anymore, what happens to your life? Like, game it out. I'm giving a daycare money to watch my kids. Like, not me, but like, that scenario. I don't trust people enough to watch my children as friends. So I send them to a daycare and I pay people money. But I can't trust them either. So what's my head doing to me when I have that mindset? Now, the unfortunate part is the daycare is less trustworthy than the friends. Like, by a large margin. Saru says, well, I'll add caveat. People trust people they are familiar with or have a common basis. Yeah, they trust them more. But I can tell you that if the bulk of people, yeah, there is a lot of in-group trust. But there's also that other chart. You know the one, the heat map. There is a large, very large group of people. Large enough that it is a security problem. Large enough that it's a security problem. That they just want to trust everyone. To at least some degree. The entire telephone network, the entire technology of the telephone is based on this idea. Because if we were inherently untrustworthy, the telephone would not have taken off as a communication mechanism. Yeah. The telephone itself would not have become a thing if we did not have some degree of inherent trust on very broad levels. That's why Discord grooming works so well. Like, there's a whole bunch of security issues that are based on the fact that even if it's just a little bit, people tend to trust people. And, like, there's no study you can publish where you can run away from that fact. Most social engineering wouldn't work if that were flipped on its head. Well, I know what you're talking about, tribal trust, but, like, the phone kind of removes that a little bit. You know, there's not a lot of tribal trust except for extreme accent conditions where, where it's Steve in Istanbul. Make tribes great again. Tribes 2 was great. You're right, make tribes great again. Shazbot, motherfucker. My sister says, me thinking about how I have to repeatedly tell staff to call me to the front when a repairman shows up and not just let them into our facility. Holy shit! Istanbul! Of course! Oh, man. Homestar Runner fans, eat your heart out. But yeah, the entire problem is that one of the few things psychology did get right is that people are naturally trusting. In general. Yes, there's in-group, out-group modifiers for this. But even in those conditions, in general, uh, there is human to human trust. Yes, skin color does matter there. Yes, your eyebrows not looking like this matter there. But in general, there's enough of it universally that it's a giant security problem. And this is one of the reasons I say the phrase zero trust doesn't actually exist. Zero trust architecture cannot exist anytime a human is involved. At least not how we use that phrase colloquially. That used to be a phrase that specifically talked about trusting a device based on its IP address, but we've expanded what zero trust architecture means. The military had to figure out how to have zero trust architecture with people involved in it. Even that's not perfect. Prostitutes have gotten secrets out of the highest levels of our government. Absolutely, they have. I mean, uniforms does go a long way. But I'm talking about the Bell LaPadula data model, the STAR model, no write up, no read down, and the converse, no read up, no write down. I forget which one of those is STAR and which one of those is Bell LaPadula, but I know that one of those is one of those and the other one is the other one. But you can't have both of those at the same time, or no one could read or write anything. Well, I guess they could always read and write at their level. You could have both, and they could read and write at their level, but nobody could read outside of it. Very compartmentalized. And I guess you do have that in some places. But generally, by that point, you're also operating on need to know. And that's one of the problems with cybersecurity is cybersecurity practices are almost entirely based on military practice, and it is completely, this is another reason it's a bubble. It doesn't actually work in the civilian world. Because you can't send them to Guantanamo when they fuck up. That's just the truth. Military cybersecurity does not work in the rest of the world. It does not work in the civilian space. There is not enough punishment you can give at the professional level, at the civilian level, to somebody whipping at their phone and looking at TikTok. And there's some places where doing that is a legitimate severe security risk. And that's just how it is. Okay, somebody pinged me. And it wasn't important. But I'm just saying. It's like... Oh, that's the term for it. It's kabuki theater. That's what it is. Like, y'all may not like it. Like, my colleagues may not like this. This backrooms music is perfect for this portion. Yeah, I guess it kind of is. Or background. I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, I was going to ignore the backrooms thing. I'm like, what does that mean? But, it's kabuki theater. Yeah, literal things on fire during that music. We, me pretending I don't recognize every track playing. Yeah. I'm surprised this is still going. Like, how many hours is the entire soundtrack? Because I've been at this for a bit. I expected this to be over by now. I expected this to be over by now. 2 hours and 45 minutes. Jeez. We're almost through. We're almost through it. Yeah, and I'm not sure how much more I can say about that. Except, that I'm in my head with it a lot, and I'm sure I've glossed over some details. that would lend some credibility to that idea. So if there's anything I said that you don't immediately like, you don't get why that's obviously true, please ask about it. Because I am in a place where I no longer know what people don't know. And one of the reasons I have this stream, not just to get CPEs, but this helps me professionally cross reference with where, for lack of a better term, where normies are at uh, with their mastery of this stuff. The way I tell you I get frustrated with my kids for them not being tech experts, and I have to, like, catch myself doing that and pull back a little bit. Oh well. Like, imagine your dad's a plumber and you clog the toilet and then you whine at him about how, like, you can't fix the toilet. He's probably going to be hard on you. Chrono Cross has potential to be long game, or a long game, so yeah, Mr. Mitsuda had to work. Yeah, he sure did. It was unnecessarily long, though. I could get into that. I might get into that, but it'll be later. It'll be later. Oh. But do you think we can have a secure world when doom scrolling on social media platforms is a thing that civilians do all the time? Hell, even military personnel do it a lot, which is that's really bad. That cost us some Apaches once. I'm sure it's had other problems that I don't know about and that I'm not allowed to know about, but that cost us some Apaches once pretty famously in the sandbox. Like, you think you're going to have security there? And for what? So that insurance companies can charge us. God, I don't even know the figures, but it's in the millions extra. And of course, that's passed on to every consumer. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have a security program. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this top-down pushing of military frameworks by insurance companies is not how the world is going to get a secure internet. Because that architecture fundamentally fights with people. Now, the software paradigm of secure by design, that's getting better, and that will help. But we do not currently hold companies accountable for secure software. And that's really where the problem is. Users will not change. You will not globally affect the behavior of users. And what I know is that the same way with other regulations on industries like this, it's going to take a few high-profile, tragic deaths to even get that conversation started. It will. And until people are literally dying, until civilians are literally dying from cybersecurity breaches, it's going to stay this way. That's my prediction. Because, like, proponents of, like, infinity immigrants, you notice how they can just, like, there's a death toll that they're comfortable with? It will be the same way with cybersecurity deaths. And if you think that cybersecurity deaths aren't a thing, I think you might have a point, but that is also my point. Is until we get there, this will keep going. Because ultimately, this is a regulatory problem. So, we are in a bubble, but it might be a pretty long-term one. That said, I'm not sure how much this overhead cost can balloon until it's fought back against by pretty significant forces. And that might be the AI people. That might be the AI people. Does death from crippling money mismanagement count? No, it absolutely doesn't. It is going to require a cybersecurity mass casualty incident. It would take that. It would take somebody hacking something somewhere to that results in some generator doing something funky and then suffocating 20 people for this to start getting serious. Like perhaps the first nuclear power plant that has a meltdown from a cybersecurity attack. Yeah, only 20. It's very hard to gas people, despite what you may have heard. It's actually quite difficult to gas a large number of people. With especially with I'm not a bad friend, I promise. Hey Nero, what's going on? 4 months of sub? That how do you call yourself a how would you even insinuate you were a bad friend? We're talking about cybersecurity bubbles and how we're in one. And the yeah, extremely difficult. 20 is actually a pretty high number. 20 is a huge number. Somebody was doing their homework to get 20 people to die from generator exhaust. You know, I'm trying to make something up here. Unless studying weather. Oh wait, yeah, I'm sure Saru would know all about that. Well, of course you're late. You've got like family shit to deal with. I'm going to tell you what I told my sister. You entirely missed my segment on how my other sister ruined Final Fantasy VII for me with her Bishonen boy band love of Sephiroth. And how I'm finally over it. And Fujo's. Well, my other sister is a Fujo. Totally. Oh my god, don't circle back! I was done. I was done. No, we're talking about Nero. Tell me you're young without telling me you're young. Anywho, God damn it, Nero. The thing we were talking about was how we're in a cybersecurity bubble that is fundamentally orchestrated by insurance companies, and how that bubble is going to pop, but how I think it's going to take a mass casualty incident. And yes, 20 people is a mass casualty incident by literally anybody's definition. God damn, sis. You're not wrong though. Um it's going to take a mass casualty event before people change. Oh no, you didn't. I'm not circling back on this. I'm not circling back on this. I'm not circling back on this. We can talk after stream. The ugh, that sinus thing is happening again. So 9 o'clock is probably my limit tonight. But that's like 2 hours of security. Yap. Oh, the I'm trying to think of a scenario like it would take a nuclear power plant meltdown. And our answer to that would be to get rid of nukes, because that's already the answer in a lot of places. As if, oil refineries wouldn't be next. Man, you get a oil refinery online and breached, and you want to talk about doing funky things with the naphtha tank? You could actually kill people doing that. Federal definition of mass casualty is anything that overwhelms local support, could even be 3 people. Yeah, like I don't think 20 people in New York City is going to cut it, but like there are places where that would be a problem. I think 20 people all at once in the same event would overwhelm what I have. Yippee! Uh, but no, the other thing that could change it is pressure from the top. And I don't say change for good or bad. I mean just like change of the status quo. Um like major AI players are probably going to start pushing back against some security regs. They're already resisting additional ones, and not for the right reasons, and not the right regulations. But, that is change. But fundamentally, data sharing as the dominant global business model is a problem. That problem has created a cybersecurity bubble, amongst other things. Congratulations on making my sister puke. I could get away with Sid if I lost a lot of weight and started smoking. But those things are kind of linked. Maybe I should take up smoking. Um, like body type wise, I'm pulling a wedge. Sid is only 33 years old. Fun fact. Yeah, but 33-year-old lifetime chain smokers all look like that. I'm pretty sure on that planet he is elderly. Like Cloud joined Soldier at 16. Joined Soldier. But he was 16. I think he was 16 at the time of the event of the Sephiroth incident at Nibelheim. I think he was 16 years old when that happened. Pretty sure it was 16. Like, I just played it. But yeah, depending on when his birthday was. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. It's my sister's fault. It's totally not mine. Um, but yeah, I know age is just a number. Oh no. Oh no. Doses. Oh no. Pulled the age is just a number thing on me. Age is a number. And so is back pain. Hey, age is also back pain. The age at which you have back pain is also a number. The anyway, it's going to take, because it always takes something like that. It always takes some sort of like, everybody's willing to accept some level of pain for convenience. And when it comes to things of this large and this fundamental to the economy, that pain level is very high. So I'm sure if waiting on a doses emoji being a can of Czech coal, oh, that was the worst thwill. That made RC taste good. And I'm trying to think of how that would happen. And that's difficult because it would be a novel attack. With the Internet of Things going on, maybe it has something to do with food poisoning by doing things to smart refrigerators and making them run at unsafe temperatures. You could do that. If you made 1 million refrigerators run at an unsafe temperature for 4 hours, I'm pretty sure there would be casualties. I'm not sure how many, but you'd get at least one. I do things with a smart refrigerator. God damn it, Nero. Nero! Oh, I forgot. There's some content that is your flavor in Petch's chat. You know where. The cultured section. Just the amount of compromised immune systems we have nowadays would be dozens of... Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It would take something like that. It would take... No, we're not shout-outing today because he's a bad friend. Um, he said so himself. The we do not shout out Nero because he is late. That's true, Saru. Casualty isn't just death. A living casualty takes more resources to counter. But yeah, if we give everybody food poisoning by having, say, 1,000,000 Samsung fridges hold food at 55 degrees Fahrenheit, I could shout out Sylph. Uh, hold on. I have no idea when you stream, but that's not the point. Go follow my sister. Oh, you don't? Well, go follow her anyway, because it would be funny. Um. Oh, just because it's Digimon and feet, you think it's my taste? Yes, Nero. Yes, I do. Done. If everything works as intended, the sister shall be notified next time. Cool, we got that working. Hold up. I have more pings. God damn it, Spicy. Also based. Let's see. But yeah. So maybe you could compromise a bunch of smart fridges. And there's another thing you could do there. Do you think a smart microwave would be dumb enough to let you set the wattage it attempted to use? That would be much less devastating than the refrigerator attack. I think I'm onto something with the refrigerator attack. See, this is why you have to think like bad guys in cybersecurity. Like, who am I going to ask on the street that's going to come up with, hey, you could attack the smart refrigerators and make them hold food at unsafe temperatures for a few hours, and that would make a ton of people sick. Oh, I'm sure there are. Like, oh, there should be smart gas stoves. Absolutely. What is your favorite color? You keep telling me, and I keep forgetting. The I think IoT is the weakest area. That's why I'm focusing on IoT, because it is like the most mismanaged. God damn it, Nero. I mean, pink and purple is like me and my wife's favorite colors respectively. So like that's not just a girl thing. Control the traffic light changes to be out of sync. You could do that. Those are sufficiently connected to the internet that you could do that. But when hurricanes like, oh no, the light working wrong is going to cause more issues than them being out, because them being out alerts you to trouble. That actually almost happened to me in San Antonio. We had a green arrow. There's an intersection in San Antonio that's really bad about this. We had a solid green arrow to turn left, and oncoming traffic for some reason also had a solid green, and we almost got bloodied. People were mad. And I'm like, we had green too. We had green too, pal. They didn't believe us. But it happened twice. It happened twice. The first time I thought, maybe I fucked up there. But when it happened the second time, which was the time it almost got bloody, oof. But no, I forget where that intersection is. But yeah, if you set both sides of a dangerous intersection to green, like a high-speed intersection, that could cause some havoc. What's the huh part, Noodle? That's just me knowing my shit if you're talking about what Saru said. Yeah, that's why crossing any expected signals will be more havoc. Absolutely. I almost tripped up on that one, but I remembered. The light being out triggers things in your mind. The light being wrong, you will never think about. And I have, yeah, bad intel is worse than no intel. Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, I mean, you're trained. Like that's the thing I was telling you about. Like you never unlearn that. That is like cursed knowledge. You are a different person when you learn how to think as an adversary. Some of us didn't need a lot of help. I'll be honest. Some of us didn't need a lot of help, but you can't unthink that way. Air traffic signals? Yeah. See, I think air had that would cause problems, but air, at least they used to have enough protocols to get through that. But those protocols didn't help in DC very much, did it? Uh, what else? The reason I'm targeting IoT is because it's very quick to implement protocol changes in like air traffic control, and that people, and just like in DC, people thought that was a failure of the administration, not the failure of protocol. People would be like, well, that's the DC thing happened because Trump sucks and he's the worst ever. They don't learn lessons from that. What they learn lessons from is that everybody on their block has food scarcity because everybody in town's food is spoiled. Forget making people sick, they've got to replace that shit. I have personal experience with this because of hurricanes. That's a problem. The grocery stores are just out when that happens. Now, our logistical networks would make that an expense problem rather than a starvation problem. But you could cause some, like, when you hurt people directly, they'll pay attention. Omni and I have so much info on the ATC shit I could rant for days. I bet you do. Maui has enough food to last a couple days. That's it. Yeah. And this is when people underestimate just how, because Americans are still, and it's a miracle we're still this way. They're trying to make us not this way. But Americans are still used it enough to the idea of disasters bearing a personal cost that the government doesn't pay, that Maui would be okay. Because a bunch of people would start bankrolling emergency grocery flights to Maui. They would. It would be expensive as fuck, but it would be bankrolled. Corpos would get involved. Like, we have the logistics to make that work for a little bit. They're tough logistics, they're expensive logistics, but because our private sector is still conditioned to bear some of that cost personally, they tend to react very, very quickly to those sorts of disasters. That was the whole scandal in North Carolina. The whole scandal in North Carolina was that the government prevented private actors from coming in and helping. During, I think it was Hurricane Michael? Boy, that was memory hold. Yeah, grocery stores and gas stations being out, so your ability to travel for supplies is also limited. Yes, that's the hurricane problem. Also, there's physical impediments. The traffic lights will be out. Roads will be blocked due to tree fall and other debris. But, like, in the case of a cyber attack that just makes the refrigerators go out, that's purely, is there food in the grocery store problem. And when hurricanes do all four of those things, that generally doesn't kill people. The reason I think the the grocery part would, or the refrigerator part would kill people, is because it was like the traffic light thing. Make the refrigerator work wrong, not turn off. So you hold the food at a dangerous level for a few hours, and then the fridge is fixed, and people aren't looking for that. When the hurricane turns your power off for a week, people know what's in their fridge is bad, and they don't eat it. So, like, yeah, you tell people incorrect things. You make the display read 32, but the fridge is actually at 65 for like 5 hours, and then it fixes itself. More impact if fast food places also have smart refrigerators. They won't adopt to those as quickly because commercial implementations do not move nearly as quickly as residential ones. Like, there's already a glut of smart refrigerators in households. You could probably, if you found a 0 day for smart fridges, and I'm sure there is one, you could probably hit, well, yeah, I get your phrasing, but I'm running with it. You could probably get 1 million people today, right now, because they've stopped selling refrigerators that are not smart. Because of the contracts that make them use a company to repair their fridges that only repair old fridges. Yeah, also their fridge is built into the fucking wall. The load-bearing wall. It's part of the structure. Only 1 million? Gotta pump those numbers up. Well, I'm not saying there's only 1 million smart fridges. I'm saying that you could probably get 1 million that are vulnerable to the 0 day, and then actively exploit them. The only thing really saving people from that right now is CGNAT. Yes, let's up those numbers. Let's go. Well, I mean, the long life vehicle, or the extended life vehicle, was designed to be used 83 years later. That's a bad example. I'll be your load-bearing wall for sure. For sure. But, like, you would have to... That's why I'm targeting IoT. Long life vehicle was correct. See, I always gaslight myself into the wrong answer after getting it right initially. Almost always. I'm doing it in real time. The reason I'm fundamentally focused on IoT is because IoT has been a problem for like 15 years now. Let me see if I can bring that up. It might be time to turn on the browser and watch and react to something together. Or at least put it on the screen. Once I put it on the screen, you'll have all the context you need, really. Because, as far as I know, this is still a thing. This song tells me the soundtrack is almost... Well, I'm almost done streaming, so it works. I accidentally did it correct. I mean, it was on purpose. It was totally on purpose. So we get the Brave browser source up, and then we do this, and we get my head out of the way, and then yeah. What about this one? As far as I know, this is still a thing. The things you learn in CyberSec. Oh my god, reacting indie time. Anyway, I'm gonna play it a little bit. I won't get that long into it because the particulars are not very they're not very interesting. They're a bit nerdy. But the introduction is what I want you guys to hear. Let me turn this sad music off so that we can hear these guys talk about real penetration testing.
Next up, we have Smia talking about real penetration testing. Please give him a warm welcome.
I'm going to get the adult category restriction for this for sure, even though it's the educational exception.
Hi, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Smia, and today I will be talking about how to hack a butt plug. This is one of those, just FYI. I don't know if you've ever seen one in person. I had not.
Now, this is a little disingenuous. Oh, you didn't realize that was real? Well, it's real. And you know why it's real? It's actually nothing to do with the device. It's to do with the fact that literally all Bluetooth is this vulnerable to shit. Literally all... This is not a Lovin's problem. This is a Bluetooth protocol problem. How many cam girls do you think are out there right now updating their butt plugs firmware? How many do you think are doing that? I'll wait.
But I've been introduced to a lot of things over the past 2 years, so, you know, here we are. You might be wondering, what is it like, what does it even mean to hack a butt plug? Because, you know, if you take a look at this, it's basically just like a piece of silicone. Obviously, you're supposed to put it somewhere. There's not much to it, right? You don't really need any electronics in here. But over the past couple years, I mean, like past few decades even, actually, there's been the emergence of this new field called teledildonics.
This is real, by the way. He's not making that up. That is the term for it.
Look at the etymology for this. You know, it's from the Greek tele, which means from afar, and the English dildo, which apparently just means dildo. There's no origin. I tried to look it up. No one knows where this word came from. But yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? The idea is that you want to make sex toys that are controllable remotely in some way. And that actually, you know, enables a number of different scenarios.
Saru's right. That's anything that sends and receives signals. But like TLS 1.3 is, you know, that's inherently more secure than Bluetooth, and like even I would say WPA3 and other Wi-Fi standards. Like Bluetooth was just never designed to be secure. Bluetooth was never designed to be secure. Nobody was thinking about security when they made the Bluetooth protocol.
Basically, I just want to explain to you, because not everyone is familiar with this field, okay? Just want to explain how this works. So you take this butt plug, right? You insert it. And from there, you're actually able to like control it from your phone, from your laptop, from any kind of device, really.
His voice is shaking from how uncomfortable he is. Like, you made this slide, bro. Did you forget about the part where you had to present it?
So that's the first scenario. Second scenario is like technically kind of the same thing. It's just you end up giving control to, you know, someone else. No, this is an actual thing. And so they actually advertise this for like, oh, you can like go out to the bar and like no one will know. It's kind of fun. But technically it's like the exact same thing. It's just, it opens up, you know, a new kind of attack scenario because you're giving control over to possibly a stranger.
Local. I didn't notice that. You're right, Lirio. Good catch. Local multiplayer. That's why they were laughing.
Or, you know, someone else, which does change the threat model here. The third scenario is going to be the same thing. You give control over to someone else, but this time it's going to be over the internet. And you know, you can kind of think of that as it's probably not going to be a stranger, but it might be. It's going to be enabling people in long-distance relationships possibly to have some fun, which is pretty cool. But where the real money is actually with using this as a sex worker. And I'm not trying to make a joke out of this. Like, people actually do rely on these things as tools to make a living, right?
Yep.
And in my opinion, this actually is something that kind of gives some legitimacy.
Now, the reason I bring this up is because all IoT is roughly this secure. All IoT is roughly this secure. Like, haha, butt plug funny, you know. And he's going to get into, like, the real consequences of this, because there's some bad ones. If you have smart devices, which is being shoved into everything, your cars are... Oh, thank you, Noodle. I love questions like that. IoT is the Internet of Things. It's when you hook up things to the internet that really ought not to be, like your coffee maker. Like when your coffee maker has a subscription service. That's a real thing, by the way. Or your toaster, or your car's heated seats, or your car's Bluetooth. They can turn your Bluetooth off now, by the way. That's a subscription service. The heated seats thing was a famous thing with Porsches. Ad break. I'm going to go to the ad break screen, because, like, this is React Andy content, and it's actually more important now. But, you know, I'm going to put up all my BRB stuff. We'll be back in roughly 5 minutes, and we'll finish this out, and then, that'll be the industry. See y'all in a bit. Let me turn that music back on, or actually get, different music. Let's get what I was listening to before, which was Space Ambient, and there we go. And then we go to the BRB screen and hit the transition button. What'd you miss?
What I meant.
What'd you miss?
What I meant.
You're just in time for the sex toy hacking section. We're learning about the Internet of Things in your butt. Erm. Waifu's home now.
I'm home.
Waifu's home now.
Stressful.
Yeah, I bet. We're talking about car companies turning off your heated seats.
Oh.
And now we're talking about a different kind of heated seat.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, Plaus, she actually doesn't. Anyway. We're gonna turn the Spotify back down. And then we're gonna continue with the Andy content. And I almost tried to push play in my monitor window. Professional streamer.
Of this research because, you know, I'm just hacking butt plugs. Yes, it's funny, but people do actually make a livelihood off of this, right? It's like some scenarios are going to be, you know, cam girls, cam boys, whatever you want to call them, people who basically provide dynamic, you know, sex entertainment.
He's trying to be so professional about this. I wonder if he works for Multimedia LLC.
Sometimes have the ability to, you know, get paid to give control over to their sex toy. The company that makes this butt plug actually has a patent.
If you don't know, the company Multimedia LLC is the holding company for Chatterbait.
On the concept of tipping money over.
They also have a perfect cybersecurity record for reportable incidents, and they have enough PII that incidents would be reportable, which is why OnlyFans had to report an incident. Their incidents are reportable and would be reported. The website that looks like it's from 1995 has a perfect cybersecurity record for reportable incidents. Their SOC must be amazing. Their Security Operations Center, I kind of want to see it.
Of the internet to control a butt plug, which, you know, that's a whole other debate, but it's kind of interesting. One of the scenarios also is like you can either have it vibrate in exchange for, you know, a $5 tip or something, but it can also be you create a link to control your butt plug and you give it out to someone on Twitter or someone on whatever, just to give them control for a limited amount of time. So people actually do, you know, rely on these as tools for their work. So it's kind of important, in my opinion, to
right.
With the security
$5. That's the
so
1
the
second
posture,
buzz.
like, let's think about scenarios that are interesting for us in terms of hacking these butt plugs. One of them is just going to be, okay, well, you're using this locally and someone is within the vicinity, notices.
To be fair to him, it's $5 in 2019 money, so that's like, what, a solid 20 now?
That you have a butt plug in and tries to hijack that connection. There's actually already been a bunch of research into this, so this is not going to be our primary focus here, but it is definitely a scenario that is kind of interesting. We will note that, you know, doing this might technically be sexual assault. I don't know. It's problematic.
Yeah, that's actually an important legal question. Like, I won't say he glosses over it here, but that's an important question. Because I think it is. And that would be an interesting precedent. That could cause some problems. But also, I think it is. So, like, oh, that's thorny.
Please don't do it, whether it's legal or not. Just don't be a dick. Second scenario that's kind of interesting is going to be looking at doing the exact same thing, but remotely, right? As I mentioned, in some cases, especially if you're making money off of this, you might be giving control over to.
Yeah, Nero, I know it is unwanted for sexual contact, but the legal question here is whether remote contact is contact from a legal standpoint. That is what could be a problem, because that creates problems no matter which way you rule on that. And you can, I'm not going to go over on stream why that is. That's just, you know, if you think about that, no matter which way you rule on whether is this contact, like, VTubers are sitting here trying to pretend that their social interactions aren't real, and meanwhile, in the real world, so cybersecurity professionals are going like, does this constitute contact from a legal perspective for a remote butt plug? Like, you know, some people live in the real world where, like, real things happen.
Of your sex toy to a complete stranger. What does that mean? Are they going to be able to, you know, compromise your devices or compromise your butt plug or do whatever, do something bad? So that's a compromise scenario that's totally legit and more interesting, in my opinion, and kind of what we're going to be focusing on. And the third compromising scenario would be the opposite, thinking about having someone who has a hostile butt plug, basically. Who might be able to hack back into your computer or into your phone or whatever, and then possibly hack into whoever is connected on the other end.
Now, you laugh at, like, the audience sure laughed at it. But that could be a serious thing. So if you have, like, a hostile device, all butt plugs are hostile. If you have a hostile device, what does that do to your attack surface area if you're engaging in catfishing? Like, that's like another tool in a catfisher's arsenal. You willingly connect to their hostile device, which isn't even in anything, it's just there. You willingly connect to their hostile device, and now that is also an avenue of attack. Instead of clicking the suspicious PDF, you're clicking the suspicious Lovin's link.
Which is the other scenario that I don't think people realize this is a real.
Which would be opened through the app that it was supposed to be. Like, in this attack scenario, the proper application is being used in this transaction.
Risk of, the hostile butt plugs in this world. So this is something that we will be exploring. Taking a look in practice, now that we've, introduced the whole world of teledildonics, what does it look like in practice? This is Eleven's Hush, which I will be doing a live demo on later on, just FYI. It's built.
Not that kind of live demo.
Built as the world's first teledildonic butt plug. As mentioned, it's a butt plug. I'm going to just be saying butt plug a lot in this talk, just FYI. And you can control it from your phone. It has an iOS app, an Android app. You can control it from your computer. Works on Mac OS and Windows. And on Windows, you actually do need to use a special USB dongle, which I would show you, but it's plugged into my computer right now.
Kaviri, you say the Trojan plug, but usually you're supposed to put the Trojan on the plug. Like, that's a normal thing to do.
So that dongle was made by Relevance, so the same company that makes these butt plugs, and yeah, it's like $5. It's kind of interesting. We were going to look into that. And then, the app actually introduces social features, so you can chat, video chat, send pictures, and then obviously give control to your butt plug over to someone else. So in terms of the, kind of like the threat map, in my mind, this is what it looks like if you're thinking about the PC app. So you have a BLE connection between the butt plug and the dongle, and then the dongle obviously is connected over USB, and so on, right? So the question here is, what does it look like for each compromise scenario? Well, for the local case, is just compromise scenario 1, just want to compromise that BLE connection. Again, there's already been research in this. Basically, there's no security there. Anyone can kind of just hijack that connection. There was a great talk last year about a tool called BTLE Jack, which you can just totally use to take over this. So
all right, so now he's getting to the part I was talking about. It's actually the Bluetooth that's the problem, and we'll be hearing more about that. Let's see. This is a 45-minute thing, so I'm pretty sure you guys get the gist of this. Basically every Internet of Things device has these fundamental issues. Someone should invent RedTooth. They should. They should, because the problem with Bluetooth is that it's supposed to be backwards compatible. So, like, redoing it from the ground up security first style doesn't work, because they're still in this thing like Microsoft was doing in the XP days, where they wanted it to be backwards compatible with no hard breaks, for older Bluetooth devices. So they can't inherently secure the protocol, because it's gotta talk to lower level stuff. If they could redo it from the ground up and, like you said, call it Bluetooth or RedTooth or whatever, or Purple Tooth, or, pick a color of your choice, Teal Tooth, Seafoam Tooth, that would be fine. But a secure protocol one year is an insecure protocol the next year. It's just Bluetooth has particular problems. If you're doing work on 3-letter agency computers, Bluetooth is not allowed to be a technology that it has. Just, even for really low-level stuff. So, like, I talk about CGIS a lot. That's not a very high-level security compliance thing. No Bluetooth allowed. If there's a Bluetooth circuit on the computer, it has to be completely disabled. You cannot intentionally order such devices with Bluetooth capability. Your hardware vendor rep should know these things. I don't think all of them do, but like Nero says, no, we have to remove Bluetooth before deployment. No, it just can't be there. Wi-Fi in general should not be on the device. Like, you should just take the whole Wi-Fi card out, because that's also what has the Bluetooth antenna on it. Just, like, physically remove that. And, it's annoying. Not gonna name names, Nero, but it's annoying when there are configurations that cannot not have Bluetooth on it. I'm just saying, not pointing fingers at any particular company, but there should be some more choices on whether or not Bluetooth is a thing that exists in the hardware. But the problem is, most Internet of Things devices use Bluetooth as their interface. Cough, cough, we can on the federal side. Commercial reps just don't know. Noted. Noted. Can I speak to the federal rep, please? I'll just say that to my commercial rep. Can I speak to the federal guy? Can you get him on the line? He gonna learn you a book. But, one of the major problems with this is, like, Bluetooth is a very convenient and low-cost technology to implement. When did I turn into Beaker? I've always been Beaker. I'm just Beaker with a fat suit. I thought it was more Kermit the Frog, really. Or was that Bunsen? Swedish Chef? Oh, wait, Bunsen? I don't know Bunsen. Is that, like, his assistant? Because, like, that sounds like it would be his assistant. From the naming convention. But no, I frequently get accused of having Kermit voice. So I lean into it sometimes. Now, Bunsen was the scientist who was in a fat suit, yes. Yeah, Beaker's me. Yeah. Beaker's great. I've actually never seen a skit with Bunsen. Like, I literally don't know who you're talking about. I just used my context clues. Yeah, the problem is all Internet of Things is like this. So when I say, like, that's where I think an attack would actually change public opinion, it's because the attack surface is very large, the care given to that attack surface is very low, and the potential impact to, like, individual voters is pretty high. So, like, if you're going to attack a central service, like I said, the accident in DC, the air collision, that was almost universally blamed on the administration because that was a convenient scapegoat. Because God forbid people actually accept that these operations are not as hyper competent as they are indoctrinated to believe. And that there are multiple failures in multiple spots. That might hurt their brains a little bit. It's just easier to blame the leader. It's funny that the older definition of IoT input-output tech... Yeah. We just call that I/O. I/O even. But, it is an annoying abbreviation. It is an annoying abbreviation because of, like, how ubiquitous those letters are in the rest of IT. Like, you remove the lowercase o and it's just fucking IT. Like 92% of ATF things are user failure. Yeah. The like the IO shield is still called the IO shield. Like it's a problem. The so like when you get smart refrigerators, and I use that because that's the thing people complain most about, because smart refrigerators serve you ads now. Like, you don't get a discount on the refrigerator for having ads play on it. It just plays ads at you. That's a thing. And because it's playing targeted ads at you, it becomes part of the cybersecurity industrial complex. Engineers can't come up with good acronyms. No, the best acronyms are from the 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds in the military that are just trying desperately to have a weapon system named Wet Fart, because they will find a way. They will find a way to make the weapon system named Wet Fart if they can get away with it. And what they'll do is, like, they'll have the platform be the wet and the munition be the fart, and then they'll have Wet Fart. And that's... They're going to. And they have. Just not specifically with Wet Fart. It's just... They will do it. And I don't blame them. That's funny as fuck. Yeah. Oh. Communication unification matrix is a good one. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. If you're in charge of that, does that make you a commander? At least in the Navy, it would. Fun fact, commanders do not exist outside of the Navy. That is a Navy-specific thing. They shortened that exactly one time, then realized and never shortened it again. The kids are smart. What they lack in experience, they make up in bravado. Because, like, the experienced person would just know not to attempt to get that acronym placed. But the kid is like, I bet I can get this acronym placed. He's not been indoctrinated enough to think about why. Only the can. The can I, the should I, the should I doesn't exist yet. The can I, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get this acronym in. It's going to be funny. It's going to be hilarious. The commander's going to flip his shit. No. That's the attitude. But, that's why I think this won't be addressed until there's, like, some mass... you could call it casualty event. You could maybe call it a mass compromise event that causes a very real-world, non-trivial, above annoyance level strain on the average person and affects them pretty uniformly in an area that encompasses their experience. So, like, an entire neighborhood or an entire section of a city. Yeah. Some of my favorite is just dumb stuff like PowerPoint, and you get the old guy like, all right, team, I've attached me PP to the email. If everyone will please look at it. Yeah. During the inception of cancel culture, a guy at a tech conference got his career ruined for making a dongle joke. Well, yeah, it is lame. That was the start of cancel culture. That's why... Oh, I have seen Bunsen before. Holy shit. Yeah, she knows I'm yapping on stream right now. That's her intent, is to bring this to my... Yeah, okay. Yeah, I could pull him off. Because blackface might be taboo, but greenface is still allowed. It's not quiet over here. My mic's just cutting that out. The laugh is not quiet over here. I can pull you off. Thanks, Nero. You're always there for me, bud. But yeah, not to go in circles on it over and over. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. I hear you can hack his like you can actually war drive with this. Like, I'm not gonna go till 10 o'clock watching the rest of this video, but you can have like a laptop open with the correct dongle in, and you can just like war drive around looking for these devices and hijack them. It would be like a really inefficient way to do that, but you could and you can. He didn't even make that joke to the woman who complained she overheard him a few seats away from her tell that joke to someone else during a conference. Yeah. War driving butt plugs. RM doesn't wrap it up. No, he does not. There's no need. But I'll do that now. As long as everybody knows what war driving means. Wow. Just 3 months? Nero subbed me longer than you. Maybe I'll go to bed with him. Just kidding. I appreciate it, waifu. Thanks for the sub. But, like, does everybody know what war driving is? We know what war driving is? Yeah, Nero's the better wife. Get good. Oh, shit. She turned that around on me pretty good. You only got emotes 3 months ago. Damn. She got me. Yeah, I did tell you not to sub. But, like, the truth is, you're ruining the joke with the truth! In my show, damn it. RM is only useful for his emotes, shaking my head. No doses emote. Unsubbed! Yeah. Unsubbed, unfriended, unmarried. Let's see. Anyway, yes, war driving is driving around looking for things to connect to. Yeah, not necessarily to Jack, but definitely literally driving around with a wireless device looking for networks is what war driving is. And yes, the intent is to own them, but also you might want to war drive just to survey where those networks are. Because once you become active with the war driving, you become detectable. Nobody's really going to pay attention to, like, somebody, unless you're in a very secure facility. No one's going to pay attention to somebody just looking for broadcast SIDS. So, you totally know the Dosa story. You may not recall it, but I have told it. I'll jack into your squirrel if that's what it takes. That's a real line from a Mega Man game. But like, if you just want... no, doses is a whole story. The next time my sister is on, we will explain doses. How about that? I bet every Starbucks would get you a hit. Probably. But, yeah. War driving, like, See, this is where the evil shit can get me in trouble, even though it's my job to think this way. This just sounds wrong, like something a streamer shouldn't be saying. Like, let's say you're stalking someone you gave too many tokens to on Chatterbait and fell in love with. And you want to confirm roughly, like, you've got it narrowed down to a few city blocks, but you need to know, like, where that... You could war drive around looking for those Bluetooth connections to, like, narrow that list. And to, like, really get the exact address, you could do that. You absolutely could do that. And that wouldn't require actually hacking into the device. That would just be looking for the signals from the device and confirming that one either is or is not present. So instead of, like, doing the thing where you're honking your car horn, like at the "We Will Not Divide Us" thing, or, you know, measuring against sounds that the other person can also hear, you could just be around during the time that the device would have to be broadcasting a signal, and you could pick that signal up real good with a directional antenna. Yagis are great. Because you don't have to send anything. All you have to do is detect it. So you can just scan every room real quick in an apartment building with a Yagi from way, way away. Because while Bluetooth is only effective as a communication device within a limited radius, like 20 feet, 20, or even 20 meters, for newer devices, your ability to pick that up with a directional antenna goes way up. And you don't need effective communication. All you need to do is to be able to detect the very basics of the signal. So you could war drive around and you could locate that. And the person being on a regular schedule would help you do that. So anyway, that's why most sonar is passive, and that sending an active ping is actually like the last thing you want to do. It's the same sort of thing. You don't want to actively try to connect to the device because then somebody can become aware that something is up. But like passive signal collection doesn't leave traces unless you're also doing the handshake. So just make sure you're not doing any handshakes and you can just passively watch those signals come in, and yeah. Inex says, I'm fairly sure my neighbor's been fucking in VR chat for the last hours. I went on a walk this morning and they're still humping in the headset. Jesus, dude. You have some crazy stories, but that makes sense for where you are. Anyway, I'm going to wrap things up now. I will see you guys later. And everybody have a good weekend. I'm going to turn the music on for a little bit while we outro and wait for, that's a good note to end on, is that INAC story. They leave their window open? Brother, ew.